Okay, I think we're back live with the after show for the Jeranism and Soundly, and also Reds, who actually has some really good questions in there that they want to do some follow up on in regards to the SpaceX car and the pressure tire stuff. I don't know, whatever the hell you guys want to talk about. We have an unbelievable amount of people in here right now. The only people um, that will be shown though are people that are actually talking. So if you're not talking, you won't be shown the outside. But if you want to talk, be my guest. I'm taking everybody off server mute. We've got, I think, 30 people in here right now. So it's maybe kind of a, I don't want to get to be too much of a cluster, but we'll see
Free
how it
for all.
goes, right? But we do have a lot of people in here right now. So, but Red's, I don't think he's in here yet, but you and Soundly, you want to go over real quick about the Elon Musk car and the Speedster and all that and some of the,
I would
yeah, go ahead.
I would prefer to wait until he
Okay.
actually gets in here because he is right on one thing. I do work on cars, which is funny. What he said.
All right, then you want to
Really
talk about some
funny.
of the other
Can't
things
wait.
from the discussion? I mean, anything that wasn't brought up?
Well, I wouldn't mind touching on the car thing. Maybe I won't go into that direction, but in the live stream, Walter Bislin did some things on top of his model for the Roadster. I'll just copy that into the or paste that into the chat.
Well, Reg, at least you know where to get your up there. You just got to find a way to get it back down.
There was actually a news story of some amateur astronomer who apparently found the car. It was like a little white dot that just flitted over the camera POV for like 2 seconds, and SpaceX confirmed that was the car according to the trajectory and such. I should find them.
I do have. That's fine. Was it you or Astronomy Live that actually ended up capturing fairing separation on one of your rocket videos?
That would be me.
Yeah. So, and that was your continuous shot, correct?
That was Fiona's launch on my channel.
Yeah. So there is something that was probably live streamed from SpaceX that could be matched up with your video to show that what they're showing is something on the ground, continuous shot.
Has been done and was synced up from the moment of liftoff.
Yep, just another.
Yeah. I don't think they're. So.
Read about is so in Los Angeles area, and we have West Coast. We have the unique, like Reds. They're launching east, which is Cape Canaveral is their an equatorial orbit, so they're always launching. They're usually one going north. Track that second stage all the way to orbit, and I've watched the orbit all cut off for the second stage, because we're pretty far. People in San Diego can watch it as well. This whole thing that the rocket crashes in the ocean,
yeah, it's ridiculous.
West Coast, you can watch the second stage go to orbit.
I forget which launch it was, but I actually filmed second stage all the way to Singapore medium flight plus 4.
They sun illuminated the exhaust. Was that the one?
No, five shot that it was, and it. But the one I'm referring to, Delta 4, which was Delta 4 with 4 solid rocket boosters. Actually, second follows second.
Is he breaking up for you guys or just for me? Can you guys hear Reds? Is he breaking up for you guys?
Into and That shows firing.
Guys,
They wouldn't even.
is Reds breaking up for you guys, or is this for me?
Ask Aaron.
What?
I saw a picture ago, the one from see the pharynx separation because it was that guy was clearly see the pharynx when they would come off. I don't, but I want to. People are seeing up at a very high angle. Way you can easily triangulate. Do the trigonometry, even the trigonometry on a flat Earth, or in space altitudes. It's clearly a Kármán line if you triangulate the altitude, which means it is in space. And assert that this object is like, aircraft or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just
What do you think about that, Kimo?
assertion. So I want to know, once you're past the Kármán line, you're pretty much in a vacuum and in very, very low pressure air. And why is it then that the rocket continues to work, since apparently the rocket can't work?
Yeah, but
It's
Jared
almost like they bring
doesn't
it on.
answer.
I imagine he
He
would say
doesn't
that
answer direct questions, right? So you'll never get a straight answer out of him.
it's a you get to zoom in on it. I get to zoom in and see it. So zooming in itself is a magical mystery.
Okay, I think, by the way, I've got everybody off server mute. If you don't have the video link to the GDC Discord, just go look at my video from yesterday. I'll put it in the video description when I can here. It's just I'm kind of tied up with admin stuff.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to actually use this fucking platform.
It's pretty
Yeah,
pretty
this-
easy.
Red, you just need to grind your penis with a cheese grater. That's it.
Anything healthful, that would be nice.
It
That's
just
how
holds
it
a lot
works.
more.
That's a good button that makes it function.
Like we have a ton of people online right now, so it's I don't know, we got 50 people on the server, at least 60, maybe 100, I don't know.
Jesus
what the hell it is.
Christ!
It's a
People
lot.
aren't going to talk. They should go and listen to it on the stream and YouTube.
There's that one guy, Colorado biker, sitting in one-on-one.
Yeah, he is. What is he doing?
He's
down there?
waiting. He's like waiting for someone to join.
For a one-on-one, I guess. I don't know. But anyways,
Also, just
go ahead.
there is a bug in the browser version of Discord that sometimes it won't allow you to unmute. And sometimes I notice I have to go and reset the security settings in Chrome, or launch an incognito session to get the unmute to work.
Yeah, I've noticed those.
So if
little
you're having trouble unmuting,
bugs.
do that.
I've noticed that as well. So if you can't unmute, you're gonna have to like figure it out, because I've already done all I can for everybody.
So, on an unrelated note, a few weeks ago, I got Kerbal Space Program on Steam, and I have no idea how fucking anything works. Nothing. I'm so puzzled. Like, what? I was free mode where you already have all the resources to your disposal, but anything to work. It's just
Yeah.
launch
And
at parts.
And by the way, I want to welcome over a lot of people from Krillism. Krillism wants to I guess get some people from our Discord over to theirs. Okay, whatever. Watch what you want to watch. If you want to go watch Krillism stuff, go watch Krillism. I'm not trying to steal Krillism's stuff. I'm not trying to steal his people. If they want to come over here, they're more than welcome to. If they want to be part of the conversation, they're more than welcome to.
Yeah, hell yeah,
I'm
no.
not in competition with Krillism. And so I don't have to go over to his channel and invade him, or send everybody over to his channel to try to get people to come to my channel. Not my style. If people want to watch this and come and be a part of the conversation, great. If they don't, okay, go to Krillism's. So, but I want to welcome a lot of people here that are from Krillism's channel. They're more welcome to come in and be part of the conversation, and I welcome them. I've given them all ability to speak. So, throw that
Well,
out there.
people should understand that Krillism is an alt-right server with
Brenda's
Nazis run the place. So
And that-
What's
that's
up,
one of
you
the
should
reasons why-
understand that before you go there.
That's why
I miss you
I have this
guys.
set up completely different. One thing we do not allow
That's
in this
not
Discord is
true, but thank you for the warm welcome on behalf of Krillism.
yeah. I've known Krillism for years. We have a relationship with each other, and I wouldn't call them alt right. I wouldn't call them Nazis. But what Krillism does allow is a lot of racial discussions. I don't in this channel. It's
a
one thing that
Nazi
we
as a
don't.
mod.
Well, he's not a Nazi. He doesn't promote Nazism. Creelism is a decent dude. But
No, I mean, Iron is literally a
Iron is-
Nazi,
yes.
and he has been a mod.
Iron Nation is banned from everything on my end. I don't have anything to do with Iron
He's
Nation. I don't have anything
not
to do with
here,
Nazis.
not at Creelism. He's
Right.
he's welcome there,
Well,
as
that's up to
Creelism
Creelism.
is himself a race realist.
But that's okay. But Brenda, I think you're missing the point
They
here.
have one Nazi.
Yeah,
They're all Nazis.
Brenda,
Yeah.
an hour
Yeah,
ago
they
you
are.
were in Populism
But you
calling it
can't
an
say that,
alt-right
though.
server, and
It
then people
is.
disputed that, and you ended
Of
up
course they
losing.
did.
Yeah, it's not an alt-right
Yes,
server.
I
You
did.
can't say
I-
they
I-
have
At least you're
alt-right
consistent.
people, therefore they are
At
all
least she's
alt-right.
consistent.
That's not what I said.
I know Creelism.
Is
and-
this how the conversation gets derailed? Is this honestly how the
Yeah,
conversation
yeah.
gets derailed?
Well, hang on one sec. He's not in here yet, and so let's just clear this up real fast. I don't really allow derogatory talk toward other people, especially other, other servers and like that. There's no reason to. Look, here's my position. Let the best quality product prevail. If you want to watch this, watch this. You want to be part of the conversation, great. I go to Creelism. All right, I get along with Krill. All right, I don't like some of the people that go in there. I'm not gonna lie. I can't stand Iron Nation. I think he's a racist piece of shit. Straight up. I'm not even gonna hold my tongue on that. He's not welcome around me, my channel, my Discord or anything. I agree with that. But if Creelism wants to have him around, that doesn't say anything about Creelism. I mean, maybe Krill has a reason why he does. It doesn't. I'd really hate this guilt by association crap, because just because you have a Nazi in your Discord doesn't make you a freaking Nazi. Right? I don't like Iron Nation. I never have.
That's true.
But I don't want people to think just because he's allowed to go on a server that people actually condone it. A lot of people are interested in debunking.
But they do.
him. Well, you get two sides to everything, don't you, though, Brenda? And I'm not saying there's two sides of Nazism. I think there's one side. It's wrong. But there's maybe reasons why he allows him in his Discord. But that doesn't really mean that Killism is a bad guy or his server's bad. It doesn't mean that at all. So.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome. Now let's get back.
Back to rockets.
Yeah, sorry. Get back to the.
Yes.
Back to the rockets.
So back on the subject of watching and how far you can see them from, I found a map from how far you could see the shuttle launches. Dragon launches to the ISS ought to have a similar visibility. I'll stick it in the
Something like that. I must be breaking up really bad.
You were breaking.
You're not.
Up there. Not anymore though.
So I don't know how to use this fucking platform. Honestly, it's just a blank screen at this point.
What?
Anyway,
What problems are you having?
It's voice only, Red.
that's not a Google Hangout. That's my fucking problem. Anyway,
Well, you can control your volumes if you touch anyone's screen. If they're coming in low, you can touch their icon and it'll pop up, and you can adjust
You
their
can
volumes.
touch anybody
you
you
can adjust
want
your
on
own
my Discord.
volume.
Just touch anything you want.
Touch anyone you want.
I don't want to touch any of you,
Damn
but
it.
it's
Now I'm getting infuriated.
But that's usually one of the first things people ask.
As I was saying, Jism went on a bit of a rant at the end of it. Ask everyone a question though. Did he actually answer any of my fucking questions when I asked him for evidence or something tangible, something that I could actually chew on that led me to the same conclusion that he was pulling or pushing or whatever?
Direct question. Direct
No,
answer.
not.
General.
The only question he ever answered, Red, was the one that you and Steve held to him by saying that if it feels right, then it's true.
Yeah, that's not the only one he even came close to answering. But would I say that he even give a direct answer on that? Yeah, probably. But the rest, no.
And he kept saying,
Definitely
if you want to believe it, go ahead and believe it. That he kept saying that over and over again. If you want to believe it, go ahead and believe it.
That wasn't my question. My question was.
Go ahead.
I was basically going to say, listen, have you ever heard of Occam's razor? It is revolving around that. So simply saying believe whatever you want doesn't really answer my fucking question.
But you're used to that with him, right, Red?
Those cows are being annoying. Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm not saying anything.
Well, I think that's kind of par for the course
Background.
with any of the flat earthers.
Excuse me.
I mean, from past experience, and by the way, welcome, Landon. Definitely a person who knows the Earth is flat, or not flat, because he called me from Antarctica. He actually called me from the South Pole. It's there. It's a real thing. It's legit. But I think what I've noticed with all flat earthers is that one of the things they specialize is not answering direct answers. they avoid it, and they all do that. It's something that's ubiquitous with every single flat earther I know. How many times did Reds or I myself or Stanley ask a direct question just to get something that is so tangential to the question that would be of no relevancy whatsoever? And that's what I find to be annoying, because I don't like that kind of conversation. Ask a question, get an answer, right? That's how a dialectic should work.
That's just secret sauce.
It also leads to a sense of dishonesty.
I couldn't believe the balls comparing you guys to a Christian like Ken Ham, because he is the spitting image, especially now that he's on his little flat Earth equals God trip.
Even though I have actually.
Hey,
Red. Yep, I know what you're talking about, Red.
Save that for when he actually comes in.
Reds.
Has he figured it out yet?
Stuff in the street chat, pictures or anything on link.
I don't have any pictures. I just have a soundbite I want to play, but Miss has to actually get in. It's going to.
Well, this is kind of a lion's den now, so I would suggest if he does come in here, we should pretty much just let Reds and a few of the others that were in
Reds, you have control, especially when I'm not here for this particular hangout, especially.
Reds, I have a question.
Go ahead.
How do you like dealing with Spurs?
Spurs Perkismo?
Like dealing with. How do I like dealing with Spurs? That was the question.
Yes.
You talking about Spurkismo?
I would say.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I had a hemorrhoid, and I went to like take a massive dump, and it like dragged up against it, and it hurt really, really bad. I would rather deal with that than deal with Spurs.
Wow.
What do you got to say about that, Spurs?
Spurs in there? I've talked to Spurs in Age.
Of course, he is. Chemo.
Oh, hey, Chemo. It's been a while, dude.
Well, listen, for all I know, Spurs can be, a good guy, but in all honesty,
he holds water for Nathan.
I would say, may his crotch be infested with the crabs of every whore in Italy, and may his arms be too short to scratch.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Well, hello, Sarah, Steve. How you doing? This is Landon.
Yes, I recognize your Landon voice.
I'm wondering, in some sense, there's part of me that says, flat earthers are essentially a waste of oxygen to deal with. What I would suggest that people do if they find the flat earthers ridiculous is you go out and do the measurements yourself and figure out how you would convince yourself the earth is round and measure it. Do the actual measurements. If you find their rhetoric frustrating, do the actual measurements yourself. You'll learn something, and you'll have actually kind of enjoyment doing the work. And several of you that live in different spots can team up and do things like look at the parallax of the moon, and you can do other things to figure out how to measure a lot of these systems. It's not that difficult, but it is actually quite enjoyable. So that when you encounter a flat earth, you can say, "I've actually done the measurement, and here it is," as opposed to just belief and all that sort of thing. So
we've suggested that flat earthers do such a thing. In fact, they've suggested that we do some observations, which, much to their disappointment, we actually did. So we spent more money than was properly appropriate, bought equipment that, quite frankly, we had no plans of buying before we actually found out that this was actually a thing. And we did observations and made it an obsession, which is rather unhealthy, to do these things. Actually got out of it was, if it doesn't feel right, then it's not true, man.
Yeah, perception.
I didn't mean that you didn't do it. I'm just suggesting other people who are sympathetic to round Earth you also should do the same kind of calculations and do the same kind of measurements. It actually is. I mean, again, it's a part of science. I approach it by saying, I want to verify this stuff, and
yeah, reality is more interesting.
Yes, absolutely.
I like it. So I'll just back the people that I think are doing a good job, and
I gotta tell you, it is a double-edged sword. Go ahead.
There's, I measured. I was one of the first people that I know that me and by the time we measured the altitude of the ISS by doing Los Angeles and San Francisco at the same time. We've measured the drop tangent with elevation that corresponds to a 8,000 mile diameter spheroid. They don't care.
They just brushed it under the rug too. That was ridiculous.
They have kryptonite to evidence and logic.
I mean, what the case is that there was no evidence that actually convinced them of flat Earth, and there's no convince them it's not a flat Earth.
Yeah, and also I would, for our 2021 expedition to see the solar eclipse, we'll be within 10 degrees of the pole, and you can go to the pole itself and do measurements as well. I would encourage you to give that a try.
Oh, Antarctic tree have a special handshake, Landon.
Yeah, you got him a special handshake.
Well, unfortunately for the Antarctic, it's out a lot of things like Princess Cruises and those things.
Yeah, garbage.
Crap on there, but yeah, I mean we're gonna have 80 people to go down and see the eclipse, and then those people that pay to go to the pole, you'll be able to do that.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Jeez.
We're one of the few private groups that are able to travel down there because they have the logistics. The reason why is they have the logistics and the know-how how to do it safely.
What's the cost?
That debunks one of their arguments right there.
You mean it's
perfect too.
You mean it's actually difficult to navigate a big hunk of continental ice?
Yeah, it's also difficult. You have to deal with contingencies such as if you don't want to end up like Scott, run out of services, run out of fuel, run out of
and they get attacked by penguins. They're ornery.
But yeah, okay. But beyond that, I mean, there's a number of things I would encourage this group to think about. Various experiments again, like having precision weights and so forth there, and doing the sun measurements. There's a bunch of fun things you can do. I would encourage wasting troglodytes to increase your own knowledge and have enjoyment of major of the Earth and the distance of the sun and the distance of the stars. These are things you can do yourself, and it's actually quite.
Everyone who verifies it makes it more strong, and the argument stronger and more valid.
Well, and it's also very telling that
personal preference.
When you tell somebody to go validate some things, it also includes, I think, and great to do experiments, but you also have to have practical knowledge too. So I think that learning about science, learning about physics, learning about math is a prerequisite to understanding what we know about reality, or we want to learn. Right? We
understand the actual model too.
Right. But that's what I'm finding the downfall with flat earthers is they don't bother to take those steps. And yes, those steps are not easy. Let's be realistic, right? But when you say to go do research, like I asked him on this question, what do you mean by research? I think that was one of the worst answers I've ever heard of what would consider to be research. I mean, what Red said is freaking research. He's out in the field. What more research can there be besides somebody doing field tests? That's a definitive type of research, right?
Absolutely.
So going to watch a YouTube video and going to watch a flat Earth video is not research, not even in the most colloquial sense of the word. I just wouldn't even attach that word to that. And then when I asked him, what's your primary sources? There are none. It's like Red said, it feels good.
Just kind of capitalizing on that.
That was very telling.
That thing called research.
Which they don't want to do.
Exactly. I do want to go ahead and debunk Jism's little, tires assertion thing, because it's clear he's not actually going to come in here because he's a little bitch. But
yeah,
let me go ahead and debunk this real quick. TireRack.com. Inflation pressure may be different than the assigned tire pressure used to rate the tire's maximum load. For example, while the P metric size standard tire load maximum load is rated at 35 psi, many P metric size standard load performance and touring tires are designed to contain up to 44 psi, which means if I were to underinflate it by 5 psi, we would have a tire psi. 30 psi, I know from experience, isn't enough to drive on. My tires are at 32 psi right now. So if I go ahead and launch that shit into space with a tire pressure of 30 psi, in space, that pressure, the internal pressure, around 45 psi, because in this atmosphere, you are experiencing around 14 psi pressure all around you, so that equalizes the outside. So getting rid of that outside pressure, it will increase the pressure inside tires up to about 15 psi. So if I launch it at like 29 psi or 3 psi, that means that there is enough wiggle room within the psi range of those tires to not fucking explode, Jism, you ignorant fucking shitbag.
I would like to also point out. I would like to also point out that anyone that is capable of building a Falcon 9 is going to be able to figure out this engineering problem.
Yeah, it could just be rubber tires. Who cares? Such a stupid argument.
It's like, how do you know? My response is I can add.
Yeah, no, I'm not oxygen.
Talking about math.
Can anyone? Am I getting through?
Yes.
Hear you, George.
Great.
Hey, George.
I just want to ask Landon just something real quick. Might be able to join that Eclipse group.
There's a URL and website where you can register interest in going to the December 4, 2020 on Union Glacier. It's not going to be cheap. And I don't know what the cost is. The cost will be somewhere around $20,000 to $30,000.
I'll be.
He's gonna go get the $40,000 real quick. He's gonna wire it for your account.
I was thinking 8 to 10, but 20, 30.
I'm guessing, and I what the cost is on there. There's another thing is that because typically to get to the South Pole is something on the order of about 60,000 right now.
Holy crap!
And work.
I understand that the part of it is getting there and getting back and having a really, really high chance you will live. That's the 60K thing. And so you're going 3 months of supplies.
Armor for the penguins from shooting you. I got you.
and you're going with doctors and all the logistics and so forth. There's a whole team behind it. When you're there. So that's why it's more than just
Yeah, it's a once in a lifetime. Well,
but so I'm only guessing at the moment. I don't know what the cost is. The thing I would suggest that you do is to at least register interest at the URL, and that at least will put you on the list. The space I have right now for the Union Glacier, logistics is about 80 people, and typically at a solar eclipse, thousands of people try to get there to see it. Sea or the coast of Antarctica, but that's going to be problematic in terms of weather. But to get on the continent, you need a way to basically land there, and we found a really good spot within the path of totality. That's within a short Railcat drive of the runway, and we'll have basically a block of tents for people to be able to stay there while they're waiting for the eclipse. And then afterwards, we're going to go out meteorite searching. So if you want to help us look for rocks from outer space embedded in the ice, gorgeous. That place is just gorgeous. It is extremely gorgeous.
I bet the stars are amazing too.
Just FYI, I put the link to the Discord in this video description. You may have to refresh, but I put all the links below. That includes the link to other channels as well. So, go ahead.
Or the sun might do a lot of visual noise, or the snow. I mean,
let's see if I in the stream, and I think you might have a chance of saving up money for years. I might be interested. Put your you don't go. I'll go ahead and get that URL.
Landon,
I'm just going to put my name on there so I can say I was on the list.
Yeah, Landon.
Favorable weather for.
Landon, you might. One sec.
Actually, principle. You're.
Landon, you might have to change your voice sensitivity. You're clipping.
I'm sorry.
So I only hear like every other word. Try now.
Am I?
Well, you were.
Clipping now?
Well, go ahead.
Okay. You're in an environment where you have the clearest skies, the cleanest air and nothing's guaranteed. Pretty good that area will be clear for the eclipse. I mean, I've seen 16 out of 16 total solar eclipse really carefully. That isn't to say that this isn't the one that I'm going to be skunked out, but even if it turns out the solar eclipse is clouded, you will be in an area that is just gorgeous, and it's a really special place. And the other great thing is you're cut off from the rest of the Earth. There's no internet. There's no cell phones. There's no radio. There's no to spot, sit down and hear yourself think. You really are as probably close to being in outer space, in terms of separated from stuff as you would any place on Earth.
That's
So with that being said, what's the skies like? Like, can you see any or galaxies or anything like that?
Well, when you're below the Antarctic Circle, you're near the pole, so the sun rises there in sort of Octoberish and stays up for about 5 months. So when you're there, the sun will be up 24 hours a day. You'll see it's the sun circling around the sky.
Awesome.
The sun.
Actually, just address one thing, and then I'm going to kind of leave, because no offense to people who actually like this platform, but goddamn, this is shit. So I'm going to kind of get the fuck. Go ahead and just clear one thing, and then I can also answer any questions.
It builds on you after a while. It grows on you. I didn't like it at first either. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the same as Reds, but after I used it for a while, and what Ocean did with this, I'm quite happy with it. So.
If hey, some people like having leeches. I don't know. So, my made an assertion that I just want to kind of ask him to back up whenever he has a chance. Point, or maybe he said that I felt this way. I don't know how he could know this, but he said, I said, has some call 100% bullshit on that, because I have never said that flat Earth had anything going for it, way, shape, or form. A douchebag to actually find a clip of me saying, "Oh yeah, I see how you would come to that conclusion," and not be fucking sarcastic while I was saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely never said that.
I'm gonna have to leave.
Yeah, I will definitely get that to him. I, for one, do not think there's any merit to flat Earth whatsoever. Zero. I'm on record of saying that hey, look, give me enough evidence, I will believe something. That doesn't mean that I believe that the Earth is flat. I don't even believe that it is possible it's flat. However, you give me enough evidence, I'll look at it. But no, the Earth is round. That's fact. That's reality. I appreciate everybody's hard work and what they do to try to get the information out there, how to debunk these flat earthers. Because my summation was basically what I believe. They're one big argument from incredulity. That's it. That's all they do.
And also, if any of you guys just have a clip of Jeranism, he doesn't believe in Christianity and that Jesus Christ can suck my dick. Yeah, peace out, guys.
Get some rest.
Do it.
On into the general stream. Let me put that on there. Place it in there for the general stream chat.
Yep, I see it. Yep.
That's the thing. By the way, the panoramic picture you see with the guy in red, that's me, and the one that you see on top is a South Pole ceremonial pole, and I'm the guy with the camera. So
that's awesome.
And it's not CGI.
Now, are the people going to be staying in McMurdo Station or in other? That situation going to be like?
we will fly from the tip of South America, a Chilean city called Punta. And we'll fly into Uni Glacier, and there will be tents set up, 2-person tents, walk-in tents that you will sleep in. And there's a large dining hall and so forth and whatnot. But the way it works is that there's a fixed price for getting on the continent and leaving, and that covers as long as you need to stay there, and all your food, all your supplies, everything. There's a rental gear where you want to rent their Antarctic gear because it's a specialized stuff and it's really quite good. But the cost would be you getting yourself to Punta Arenas, Chile, ahead of time, and then they'll do the safety briefing. They'll size you up with your equipment, and then fly into the continent, land in the interior around 80 degrees south, where the glacier is located, and you'll see the eclipse. And from there, you can decide to do things like go off to the Penguin Rookery, or you can go off to Mount Vincent, the highest peak in Antarctica, or you can go to the pole or other places. There's a number of things you can do as sort of add-ons afterwards. Plus, I'm going to be out there doing searching for meteorites. So you might, if you come with me, you might be able to find rocks from outer space embedded in you. That is really amazing to be some of the first people to find a chunk of outer. That is good.
Can we go to? Can you guys show us the area where the real moon landing was filmed?
I asked that, Landon, because it says here in the itinerary that you're going to the South Pole Station, which I assume they're talking about McMurdo, right?
No, South Pole Station as in South. As in the South Pole.
Actually, that's what I was thinking. I'm sorry. Yeah, the Edmondson Scott's the one.
McMurdo is a base on Ross Island off the coast of Antarctica. It's actually not even on the continent. It's actually an island off the coast, and it's kind of crowded and so forth. This is. And so
is there going to be? Are you going to be in tents also at Edmondson Scott on this actual South Pole, or do you get to go in Edmondson Scott and stay there? Or
absolutely, the people that stay there, there's typically a sleepover. You can't stay overnight because the day. But the people that go there, there's also really great, amazing tents there for you. And usually, the usual thing is that sometimes you go to the base. You go in the base and tour inside the base as well. And you too can call up to.
Are you guys getting a weird sound?
Like repeating.
Yeah, I don't know whose mic is open or something.
It's Belcher.
Beltran.
It's been extra. Yeah.
All right. He just deafened. Thank you, Beltran.
Could-
All right. By the way,
you
just
two
remind
can
people,
go to the
if you have
technical
mods, keep
controls.
checking for people that come in so you can remove their server mute if they check out. I have to go AFK for a while. Landon, it's all yours. You've got to control.
So let's say it's definitely worth it. Even if you just go to Union Glacier at 8 degrees south, it again you're in the Ellsworth Mountains, probably the more one of the more beautiful spots in Antarctica. And they even have showers there. You can get a shower about every 3 days or so. You get about 3 minutes of water.
That's prison rules right there.
Every 3 days.
Yeah,
60,000. I'm going to need at least 5 minutes. No.
Well, actually, if you're clever, what you do is you stand in the bucket where the hot water is, and you have it basically cycle through, so you can extend it a little bit if you don't mind recycling water.
I could not go 3 days without showering.
But as I say, that's typically between they say 2 and 3 days. If it's camp's really crowded, it's about every 3 days or so is what they would like you to restrict your showers to. And then the other nice thing about Antarctica is you're in no country. There's no laws. There's nothing illegal down there.
So it's like the Purge
What we don't like is what
It's
you're saying.
it's like the Purge movie, but every day.
Yeah.
You're telling me you could get away with murder in Antarctica?
Who would prosecute you? But we don't. The murder is like that's actually not really cool. So it's nice to be nice down there, and so cooperating is the name of the game. But for example, as I mentioned, we typically build a large igloo, and the reason usually for the large igloo is that there's very often a Dutch group that goes and builds a Amsterdam style coffee house inside the igloo. So if you're into that kind of stuff, there's usually one of those things there.
Well, it sounds fun.
It's beautiful, and there's lots of stuff to do. There's if you're into athletics, there's certainly lots of cross country skiing. There's people that do really insane wind para gliding stuff with the skis where you basically kite ski surfing stuff.
You ever interact with the other scientific? I'm sorry, I was gonna ask if you ever interact with the. I know there's a station down there where they drill up ice cores and whatnot. In what sense do you interact with them?
If you right, typically you get invited into the base, and we also typically have people from the base come out there. So like last Jan from the South Pole Telescope that came to our camp and essentially talked about what they were doing. But stuff is right there, so you can see things like Ice Cube and South Pole Telescope and Bicep 2 and all that cool stuff is right there.
But they're a separate entity from the kind of operations. Are you is it more like a tourism thing that you facilitate, or?
Well, in our case, it's. I mean, first of all, the Union Glacier is kind of a waypoint for people coming down from North and South America into the continent, and so that's sort of where that location is for. And then when we ourselves fly into South Pole, that's usually flying in and we land at the South Pole and set up tents there and stay there for at least 24 hours plus. And then of course we obviously go to the ceremonial pole and the actual geographic pole, and then somewhere along the line, and we usually bring down gift, and so they want us to come and visit them. That's sort of how to encourage them to talk to you. So, for example, we I brought down a bottle of cherry last year it was crema di limoncello, right? The really, really good stuff. And so you arrive there and say, hi, we're in no need of services. We have all our food and medical supplies, and we have something we'd like to give you if you want it, right? And so they say, yeah, come in. So they invite you into the base, and you get to see inside. And
Any issues with hypoxia there on the South Pole? Because I know the density altitude there, even though it's 9,000 feet, I think the density altitude is sometimes 14, 15,000.
yes, it is. That's probably of the things. Now, at the South Pole, that's probably the hardest thing to get used to. At Union Glacier, where the eclipse is, you're at much lower altitude, so it's not so bad. For the South Pole, I usually recommend. I use a medication called Diamox that helps with the high altitude. If you're not acclimated to high altitude stuff, but for the place where we're going to see the eclipse and search for the meteorites and so forth inside the mountains, that's actually a much lower altitude than the pole.
What's up, Ali B?
LEB?
Can Allie B talk? Allie B is a flat earther.
Oh.
Allie B.
Oh. Anyway, so it's a nice spot. And again, I would, if you go down there, you can do your own experiments and measurements on sun positions and.
But can you also see the the other kind of South Pole monuments? Like apparently every year a scientific there's like some science building down there that are within walking distance of a South Pole. Basically, they stick a pole into the earth.
Well, at Admission Scott base is a permanent building, and that's probably somewhere around 200 meters away from the pole. I mean, it's been moving off. In front of the base, about maybe 100 meters, is a ceremonial pole where it was. That's the nice candy stripe pole with the big ball that looks really pretty with the flags around it. The actual geographic pole is about a half kilometer to the side, but again, that's an easy walk.
Is that is that this year's, the one with the silver ball and the candy cane pole? Is that this year's? Or?
The sand that ball is where the pole was in 1958, I believe.
I'm talking about the other one, like the other. There's like a sign. Basically,
well,
they have their
pole. The scientific base is in front of that. A kilometer to the side is where the actual geographic pole is. Every year at midnight, on New Year's, they find the pole and drive a stake into the ground. And then when I'm there, I usually do the extra work for figure out where the pole is. Time, at least within fingers width of where it is. Because the pole is drifting, right? The ice is moving, the continent's moving.
Oh, sure.
The earth.
Yeah.
So,
how much does it move in a year?
Yes, out there. Are you still within range of the GPS constellations, or?
Yeah. The GPS you can get GPS stuff, and usually the GPS pole is within a short walking distance of the geographic pole. They don't quite coincide. Just like if you go to Greenwich Prime Meridian and stand on that line, your GPS won't read exactly 0. You have to walk like 100 meters off to the side to find the 0 point for GPS. But they're close enough. But yeah, you can find all that stuff out there. And when you're there, with a sleepover, you have plenty of time to walk, because we typically camp at a spot that maybe is like 3/4 of a kilometer away, but it's a short walk down to the pole. And run around and have a good time. It's all quite accessible.
Yeah, I was wondering more about if it's possible to, if you go on that expedition, is it possible to also go to see the other other scientific expeditions and their buildings and their facilities? Not necessarily go in, but like I know that there's a South Pole marker that they've been setting up over the years, where like they always find that the latest magnetic. I think they go off. Maybe they go off magnetic. I'm not sure what kind of coordinate system they go off of, but they actually do have.
Well, that's what I say. The magnetic, actually, the magnetic pole is off the coast of the continent in the ocean, but the polar rotation.
Yeah, so it's not that one then.
That's the geographic pole that's set every year, and then when I'm there with a team, I find for that day where the pole is respect to the rest of the stuff. So it's yes, you get to see the pole rotation. You get to see the marker. You get to see the ceremonial pole. You also get to go into the station that's the Amundsen Scott station. Talk to the scientists. They typically come out because they're actually interested in meeting people. They don't get very many visitors, and so they'll be there and come out and chat and talk about
how are the nightclubs.
Landon, is there any wildlife there on the actual South Pole? Because I know you're pretty far from the ocean, far inland.
No, once you get a few kilometers away from the ocean edge, there's nothing. No birds, no plants, no animals, nothing. Other than crazy humans
being on the moon.
Yeah, it is quite sterile. In fact, you won't find even mold spores or pollen. You'll find some cleanest air on the planet, but you won't find no critters.
But I mean, do they find any kind of bacterial life inside of like the ice cores at all? Like, is there nothing preserved from an earlier time?
I mean, it's really not, because it's also the temperatures of the ice is not really conducive to stuff growing. I mean, I imagine there's something there, but I had, I for example remember last time I had we had some tomatoes that I kept because I'm vegetarian and like my veggies, and we actually went off to the pole sooner than we thought, and so for 2 days I had basically a tomato that I cut in half that was sitting inside my tent, which was actually up high enough that it didn't freeze. It was cold but didn't freeze, and the came back 2 days later and the tomato was just perfectly edible. Half open tomato. Just
that's cool.
Nothing there.
So you don't need a refrigerator.
Me. It really is that sterile.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Like, how often do you go up there? Like, in what cases do you like? Is it always like bringing other people up there, or is it more also like half the time you're also going there for vacation, or do you have other reasons?
Usually when I'm going there to do research. Looking for rocks from outer space embedded in the ice using our detectors. And so this is a time where there's going to be an eclipse. So instead of me bringing a couple of people, there'll be like 80 folks showing up and 60 staff people.
All right, folks, I think I'm going to go to bed right now. It's like 2:20 here.
All right, man. Good night.
Night, guys.
Yeah. As I say, and it's great if you like cross country skiing. That's another thing you can do, or just walking. There's certainly guides that take you out there and keep you safe. And I say, if you go with the meteorite search, we actually spots that people don't normally go. But there's for example, we went last time to a place called Elephant, and there were it's actually a spot where there's actually rock that's able to that's actually above the ice. That actually sticks above the ice, and that rock, there's a bunch of fossils in there. It's really cool to see. So you kind of crawl around and find find fossils from a long, long time ago.
Oh, yeah, so that answers whoever's question that was. Yeah, there was living stuff there some time ago.
Yeah. We've actually found, they actually did find up in the high mountains some lichen that was still alive, but that's about the closest we found to native stuff. The stuff that's there, the fossils there are trilobite trails, so they're and you can see ripples of inland sea stuff, and you can see also trilobites that sort of been smashed into the fossilized sand. That's typical. That area is around 475 to 525 million years ago.
There's graboids running around under the ice too, isn't there?
I mean, there is stuff underneath the ice, but it's hard to get to it. So there at Union Glacier, in the middle, you're about a kilometer thick ice. So
that was a joke. The graboid was the snake in Tremors.
Was it?
Ever seen the Tremors movies? With the giant snake.
And how do you know that humans weren't there wasn't one time traveler? Went back in time. It was their bones are now smashed up against those, those other trilobites. How do you know? There's a human in there.
So go to that URL and put your name down as interest to go there, because once that fills up, it's going to be full. And
I'm only kidding, by the way.
I don't think I could get rid of my phone for that long.
And then you too can say that you've been to the land way down under, not just the land down under, but the land way down under. Right?
Yeah, we crossed the ice wall.
And the nice thing about that, as opposed to land down under, is that there are no snakes or other critters that try to kill you.
That's cool. Do we get a shirt that at least says we crossed the ice wall?
Actually, there is actually a shop there where you can get T-shirts and so forth if you want to buy. You need to bring cash because they don't do credit card transactions. But if you bring cash, you can buy souvenirs.
I don't know. Can I use my phone there, or do I have to zoom in with the telescope and make it part of my reality, my perspective?
Your telephone, there's no self-source service, but you can use an Iridium satellite when there's a Iridium satellite overhead. So when I called into Steve's channel, I was on a Iridium satellite phone.
You think you were on an Iridium satellite? It was actually a high-altitude balloon, just so you know.
Sounds like witchcraft to me.
Yes.
You have to point the receiver upright, not towards the ground. So,
yeah.
Damn, that's another flat Earth debunk. Fuck.
But it is fun to see the sun go around in the sky, 20 hours a day. That's actually quite fun.
That would be pretty cool. It'd be even cooler if you guys got the footage. Send it to me here in Fort.
And then, of course, the other thing you do is take boiling water. All the sort of temperature experiments are quite fun to do. But when you're down there, it's actually quite comfortable. The gear they give you is actually very, very good.
I just think it'd be interesting to see the sun for a very long period of time, just see it slowly go across its path in the sky, but then
round and round and round.
Yeah, that'd be very interesting to see.
How cold does it get there in the summertime? I mean, do you have to worry about becoming a meat popsicle or what?
Well, if you're talking about at the South Pole or at Union Glacier?
I'd actually be curious to know at both.
Well, at Union Glacier, your typical temperatures are somewhere between -10 and -25. At the South Pole, it's typically about -20 to -55.
How do you guys deal with like sexual? Do you guys have a shed or something with a lot?
Well, you know that igloo that I talked about. That's like Amsterdam coffee house. I'm sure there's things going on in there that are
the Whack Shack.
I mean, where there's hash, there's bound to be other things.
Opium too. Yes, you're right.
But nothing's illegal down there since there's no laws. So
You just gotta get it there.
it's just that's a minor technicality.
That's what butts are for.
You're gonna keister it all there, huh? Is that the plan?
If you know where to look at the South Pole, there's actually a botanical hydroponic garden. They claim to have a plant strain from Maui that they've been cultivating for a number of years.
Oh, it's the Maui Wowie.
Absolutely, yes. Actually, it is.
Uh-huh. My dad used to grow that. It's a good outdoor strain.
And they also do vodka, Saskatoon. Use Saskatoon berries to get the yeast. There's no natural yeast there to do fermentation.
You almost got all the bases covered. How many women are on this expedition?
There tend to be about somewhere around a quarter to a third. It kind of varies.
Most of them are probably.
I can handle those numbers. I can deal with those numbers.
Like this time, the camp director was a lady that set the speed record for the fastest person to ski from the edge of the continent to the pole and back.
So she has nice legs. Okay, she'll do that.
Those Norwegian cross-country skiers are pretty fit people.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, and if you're into partying, there's usually a group of Russians there.
Russian.
Yeah, vodka.
And
Drink the vodka and we heard at the pool.
Yes, they usually have a number of liters of really good stuff. They had some really great vodka last time. I was quite impressed.
Antarctica sounds like a party compared to when my father was there.
It actually is, and if you just take the time to sit down and various table like in the dining place and talk to people, you find there's just amazing folks down there with interesting stories.
I bet.
Yeah, my father was there in '56 and '57 with Operation Duke Priest.
Oh yes, okay. So he probably was part of the team that put the Kenstrap pole there.
Brandon, how long is the trip going to be, you think, start to end? How big a block would I need to reserve?
Well, the typical time is about 2 weeks. However, there can always be weather delays. So what they'll tell you is, don't have anything critical for the next, 4 weeks. But typically the time is about 2 weeks or so. Because weather
independently wealthy people here.
when weather determines when you get there and when you get back. Now, it's the same cost no matter how long it takes to get there, and back. But that's one of the things. So we were like this time we were there. We landed there on the 2nd of January. We were there through about the 12th of January. That's a little short on a short time. We've been there for 3 weeks. Was for the longest.
3 weeks. How much luggage can a person bring, and how what process do they use to clean their clothes if they do? I assume they do. They have to, right?
I mean,
Well, there's not a lot of dirt there.
You have essentially I typically bring a large North Face bag. You have you typically have, like, in your skin layers, you might have 3 or 4 changes of your skin layer, and sock liners, that sort of thing. You have maybe 2 layers of two versions of your mid layers. Like you have a light fleece and a heavy fleece, and then your light down, and then you have one light down on the outside and then one heavy down. There's kind of when you say I want to go, what they'll do is they'll give you sort of a shopping list. So if you go to some place like North America, there's a place like REI. You show up there and say, "Hi, I'm going to the South Pole, and here's a laundry list." They say, "Oh yes, you're one of those people," and they'll basically get the good stuff. And then you rent the external gear, like the boots and your outer gear. You want to rent from them because it's very specialized gear that works in this South Pole climate. That you won't.
Gore-Tex, like super Gore-Tex.
Yeah, stuff. I mean, it's like boots that go down to like -70 and that kind of stuff. So you want their stuff there. And so if you rent it, then when you arrive, you arrive in Punta Arenas, there's a safety briefing. They size you up. They give you your gear. At that point, they'll talk about weather, and they'll say, and at some point they'll say, "We expect to go in the next 6 hours. Hang around your hotel because we're going to come by, and if you're not there, tough luck." So you basically wait until the van shows up, and they usually, first thing to do is they basically you haul all your gear into the van, and they take it off to the cargo plane, and then sometime later they come back and get you. And
who hauls your poop away? Because that's not supposed to be left behind, right?
Yeah, so there's sort of toilets and a Mr. Hanky bags that get accumulated, and that gets brought out. Same thing with pee. Your pee bottles. You have pee bottles. You also have a pee tank that go to. But there are not now. Now it's actually quite civilized. There actually are little toilet things that can all the stuff into a central collection spot.
Well, I'll be drinking all my pee, so I won't need to.
I was just going to say that. You beat me to it. Damn it.
Yeah, but again, the beer is pretty good.
Is that what you were doing? Is that
wine and?
I should be drinking my pee. I've been doing it wrong
wine.
sometimes.
PJ does.
I've been dumping it on the ice. Damn.
But there is something to said for just going out there and just doing nothing, right? Particularly when the wind doesn't blow, there's nothing to make a sound. So you go out there and just sit down and just listen to pure silence. You can hear the blood, your heart pounding and that sort of thing. You can just sit down and chill out, and it is amazing just to hear just nothing. And you can sit there and think and have a good time.
You say you're nothing. You mean that there's no wind, like that the lack of temperature difference just creates a full stillness?
Yeah, the air is still and there's nothing to make a sound. There's no radios, there's no cars, no planes, there's nothing out there to make
They're
a
not
sound.
spitting at 1,000 miles an hour.
Other than you. Yeah, so but that silence is just that's really precious thing. And I enjoy going out there. Usually again you want to be sure that you're going with somebody else, you're not out there alone, but you can, either walk out with your boots or cross-country ski out to a spot and just sit down and stand down this like this beautiful valley and just do nothing.
Yeah, I think you would like lay out.
No cell phones, no cars going by, just you looking at stuff and nothing making a sound, and just it is just.
Yeah, you just experience everything, just like you're like basically in the same quietness as everything else around you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that. Yeah,
Yeah, I've got tinnitus in both ears, so I'm not sure I'd enjoy that experience.
It's funny. I was just thinking the same thing.
But you can also put your, bring headphones too and enjoy. And I this time I brought the book called The Martian out there and read it.
Like, how long were we out there then? That must have been, I don't know. It depends on how fast you read. In a few days.
Yeah, but you got time. It's not as if you're going to go down to the grocery store and do something. It's
totally mess up your cycle there.
Well, you keep to the camp. For example, Camp Union Glacier stays on Chilean time because that's the area where that's the time zone that feeds us, right? That sends us supplies. So we tend to stay in their spot, and there's also meals that get served in a mess tent that are that help regulate your time, and usually some sort of events that happen during, of course, the business hours. And by the evening, if the main thing to do is just to go back into your tent. You kind of strip down to your skin layer so you can chill your skin down so that when you go into your double down bag, you're not too warm.
I'm curious also about the food. How is that supplied? How often do you get drop-offs? And like, I assume there's a regular interval of they drop food off, you pick it up.
Oh yeah,
fresh
and
food.
that comes in the Illusion 76. You fly into a big giant cargo plane. Americans would sort of see it as like the Russian equivalent of the C-1. Like they're bigger vehicles that can have trucks and other things inside. So there's a large food there, and they have both a freezer underground as well as a refrigerator above ground to keep things warm. So they have typically the base. By the time you get there, there's probably about a 3-month supply of food and fuel. And also you have medical needs there. These 2 doctors sometimes.
There's a reason why it's so expensive.
Yeah, because you don't want to be in a situation where they say, "Oh, I guess we ran out of food. Sorry." So there's a very, very significant safety margin that they have there. The same thing when you go to the pole.
I think the name of it is Alive.
I'm sorry.
I saw a movie on how to deal with that if you run out of food. The movie name was Alive.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you avoid that state of affairs, and also, of course, you want to avoid being without communication. So we typically also have iridium satellite phones there. And the other thing, of course, is you never go someplace without someone knowing where you are and where you're supposed to be.
I would think that if I brought my own food, if I just brought, I don't know, I guess the problem is that I'm going to be there for 3 weeks, and so I have to have 3 weeks worth of food.
Again, there's large, they bring in large quantities of food, and you will be, you want to be on typically a calorie diet of somewhere between around 3,500 to 5,000 calories a day, because your calories are your food you consume is what keeps you warm. That's your source of heat.
I agree, but isn't it the case that you're saying that the food is the main cost of maintaining the facility?
No, it's also the fuel. It's the because the fuel is what's necessary in order to take the ice, which is super cold, and melt it. So in order to not die of thirst, you need to have fuel to be able to melt enough ice to have water. There's also the whole fuel of the aircraft and so forth, and the vehicles. And then there are the guides, and then of course there's the medical staff that's on board. So, so if for 80 people at Union Glacier, there'll be somewhere around 60 or so staff people there supporting it.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like a very small ratio of like participants to staff.
Yeah, and also there's also a whole logistics team back in places like the typical South America. All the stuff is carefully monitored and organized in terms of stuff. So again, you're in a situation where there's very very people who know what they're doing. They've ahead of time they've scanned the area for ground penetrating radar, so they'll have flags saying don't go over there because there's a crevasse, but over there it's solid. And so when you arrive there, that the place is actually relatively well mapped out as far as where you can go that's safe.
Yeah, when my father was there, they were driving like Caterpillar D8 tractors with these big arm things that extended out with the. I don't remember if it was radar or something that they could sense crevasses.
Yeah, and so that's the same thing when we go out meteorite searching. We go into areas where that's been done, or we have a unit that's scanning ahead of us to make sure we don't drive into a crevasse. It tends to ruin your day when you do that.
Meteorites that you're looking for, they're just like little tiny pebbles, right?
I mean, the most common we find are sugar cube sized or so. But again, there's no guarantee. But we found 5 last time. We found 15 the time before. We found.
Did you use a metal detector for that?
What?
For that, or are you just visually looking for them?
We have a specialized metal detector. And there's a very specialized unit that does a radio pulse, does radio pulsing, other sort of things to search for meteorites.
That's cool. I just think it's funny when you're talking about having GPS out there and iridium satellite phones and all that kind of stuff. And my father's experience was a lot different when.
Yeah, I imagine so.
I mean, he was in a plane crash out there, and they had a hand crank Gibson Girl radio, and a theodolite, and a compass, and 110 miles to go.
And I've used I used to bring a compass, and I used to also bring a sextant there just because it's fun to do the old ways too. And we found we're out there scanning. We also find things like the 2 times ago we found a food cache from a 1964 British expedition.
Oh wow!
It was like this giant signature, and it turned out dug down there and found there's a box. Inside the box was food and stuff from a expedition that was planning to come back, and I guess went to a different location or never found their spot. I don't know why.
Is there any drinkable liquor in there?
My father wintered over there 2 years. When you mentioned the liquor, there wasn't a lot of that consumed. They had like a beer, when he wintered over, there was like a weekly beer ration. But if you were scheduled to go outside, you couldn't smoke or drink for like 24 hours before going outside.
You don't want to. You definitely don't want to do something, consume a lot of alcohol, unless, of course. Well, although that didn't seem to bother the Russians. I mean, the guys. There was like a team of 12 people. When I asked them how long it took for them to climb Mount Vincent, they replied 15 liters.
Well, you know, if you maintain a consistent alcohol level in your blood, it's like antifreeze, right?
I guess so. So,
you nice and warm.
London, can I ask you something? Is there any archaeological radar surveying of the Antarctica from satellites, for example?
are there any archaeological stuff? I mean, there's no evidence of people having been there other than the expeditions years. There are there's a lot of paleontology stuff. You in the 3% of Antarctica that's above the ice, you can find fossil remains, and there's just some extraordinary rocks and minerals there you can find that really gorgeous stuff.
Can you say,
The little bits of our Antarctica that's above the ice.
Can you say for sure that Antarctica was never inhabited by humans in the past, say?
Well, you never say for sure, but given the fact that Antarctica went into the deep freeze, it appears around 1.7 million years ago. And given the age of humanoids, it's probably unlikely. There certainly have been, there certainly are bases there, and there are people that will winter over. But it's pretty well known where people have been.
I think they found a handful of crash.
I mean, we know, for example, when the first people that actually saw the Antarctic continent, the even people like the Greeks, had this sort of model that the Earth must be balanced, and since the Arctic was an ocean, they figured the Antarctic land. That they kind of this notion of the spherical Earth that are sort of like these opposite things. But they also had this notion that the equator must be a land of fire, that it got so hot that basically it was flaming fire, and there was a barrier of crossing the equator. At least some people did. But the civilizations, we have a pretty good notion of when, for example, the Russians and the Belgians and the French and the Australians, the British, right there. We have pretty good records of the early explorations, and the first ships that kind of got near it, and of course the ships that actually saw the Antarctic coastline, and then the first people that arrived on the continent.
Yeah, but that's pretty much current history, right?
Yeah, that's stuff that you're talking about the 1800s, when the first people actually set foot on Antarctica, and it wasn't until 1911 that Amundsen got to the South Pole.
Do you think
the Germans in the 30s, they found the crashed saucers there with the frozen reptilian greys? Didn't
Actually, Nazi Germany had a territorial claim, and Germany is actually one of the countries that actually abandoned their claim. They basically renounced their claim. Everyone else that's part of the Antarctic Treaty has put their claim, what they call an abeyance, which means they're not going to. But Germany is the only one that has actually renounced their claim. Hitler was thinking that the Antarctica would be a place where he could, breed a super race. So after World War II, Germany decided, no, we're actually officially going to abandon the German claims of territory in Antarctica.
Yeah, because Hitler made the claim, and they were trying to repudiate everything involving Hitler.
Yeah. But by the time that the Antarctic Treaty came around, then the original signers all said, okay, if everyone agrees to not press their claim, then we're okay. It's actually one of the few treaties that Korea is active part of. So you're down there, usually sometimes encounter Koreans.
But the treaty's there to keep people out.
Well, actually, true. I mean, they're because there was a whole big fiasco of one of those cruise ships that there was a big oil spill that I guess they didn't have their fuel, valve closed or something, and so there was this big oil spill that created a mess, and there was several species of critters went extinct because of this oil spill. There's now much more restricted taste, and so to get on ice, you have to sort of reason to be there, as opposed to just you want to.
Yeah, and show some level of competency of your expedition. You're not going to be risking people's lives to bail you out.
Yeah,
it's just hilarious seeing some of the flat earthers, mischaracterizations of the Antarctic Treaty.
Yeah, and
like, have you ever read it? It's like, and universally they haven't.
It's basically, it governs all the stuff that's 60 degrees, south of 60 degrees, and attempting to try to preserve Antarctica for the scientific and cultural enrichment of the planet. And all the countries that are participants say, okay, we're not going to mine it, we're not going to rip stuff off, we're not going to make a mess, we're going to try to keep it pristine. So it's like any don't make a mess. And if you drink too much and puke on the ice, then you're responsible for cleaning up your stuff.
Do you think flat Earth is harming the world? And if so, do you think having a 360 24-hour source live stream from Antarctica would help? Especially during 24-hour sunlight? To dispel the myth that is flat Earth, I mean?
Everyone seems to have their own view on it. I'm not sure that a single solution is the key. It seems that just a person's ability to maintain an idea and express it is just far more compelling for each person. Everyone finds excuses, is pretty much what I'm saying.
It is amazing that the sun do the 360. It's a 360 dance. That's a fun thing to see.
There are already YouTubes of multi-day time lapses of the 360-degree sun in Antarctica. Anyway, so if you set up a live stream there 24 hours a day, fake stream anyway,
and the sun pillars and ice crystal iridescence, and the sky is just gorgeous. It's actually quite.
Yeah, but epistemology. Just saying that they will say it's fake is not an excuse to not provide the real proof. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I say, come down to Antarctica for the, and I think that it would be nice for this particular community to also design some experiments, go down there and do some stuff and do some measurements. It's actually a pretty wonderful thing to do.
And then you get caught up in the whole fact that it costs what, $60,000 to go? That's where they stop.
That's kind of the if you're going all the way to the pole, going to the base, going like Union Glacier at 80 degrees is a lot cheaper.
Landon, to be clear, this trip that this expedition that you're asking us to register for, you will get to go in that trip, correct?
Well, what will happen is that the base cost will be to go to Union Glacier and back and see the eclipse, assuming it's not cloudy.
It will be an extra pay.
And then on top of that, there will be optional add-ons where you say, I want to go to the penguin rookery at the Waddell Sea to see the emperor penguins, or I want to go to the base camp of Mount Vincent, or I want to climb Mount Vincent, or I want to go to the South Pole. These are excursions you can add on to beyond just going to Union Glacier. I think most of the beauty is actually in places like the Ellsworth Mountains and Union Glacier. But you can do other things. Like there's people where they'll say, okay, we will fly you to 89 degrees and you can do a cross-country ski of the last degree. It takes a couple of days and they take guides and you ski the last degree into the pole. That's one thing some people do. Other people say, fly me to the. I don't, I'm not athletic, but fly me to the pole. We brought a guy that was 90 years old. Actually, it was 91 to the pole. Flew in a DC-3. We landed there. We had a nice tent, and he got to go and walk around the pole and so forth. He had a great time. So it's not like this. It's not like you have to be super young.
That's cool that you got to do something fun.
And so the registry that says I'm interested in this, and then no obligation. They'll send you the information when it's ready, and there'll be various add-on things you can do besides the base. The base trip will basically say take you from the tip of South America, Punta Chile, to Union Glacier, see the eclipse, and take you back. Right, and if you want to do other things like ski the last degree.
So that'll be 20 to 30,000. But if you wanted to go to the actual geographic South Pole, you should plan on spending another 20, 30,000 on top of that.
Yeah. But I'll say, that cost is actually pretty reduced, because one of the things you're going to be doing is you're going to be going in an airplane where the rings flies in. So you could basically get to piggyback on what otherwise would be an expensive supply mission. So it actually costs you a lot less to get to the pole than if you did it all by yourself. Because again,
you're going might be like 10,000 instead of 20 or 30.
No, I'm saying for you, I mean the cost of doing your own plane, getting there and back is much more expensive than going. If you go with this group, you're going with like a resupply mission. Because even like the airplane you fly in from Chile down to Union Glacier is a cargo plane. It's not like United Airlines 747s, where it's a cargo plane where they're hauling freight. And you're on the cargo plane. But that's
$60,000 is actually the reduced, like the discounted price
to get to the pole and back. Yes,
it's still a hell of a lot cheaper than if you tried to charter your own plane and go to the south.
Yeah, all the fuel dumps and all that sort of stuff there. So it's and I say that the Union Glacier hopefully will be a lot less, because the last time about 2/3 of our cost was going from Union Glacier to the South Pole and back. So getting on ice was only about a third of going to the pole. But I don't know how they're going to price it. So
Sounds like an opportunity for Quick Trip or Walmart.
Yeah, I'm wondering like how many humans will start like investing over there and like start living over there, and then you'll need a Walmart, and then you'll need like a bridge, and like I wonder how many humans will just start investing it over there. Yeah.
There's a continent that's about 20 from the edge to the center. There's probably less than 1,000 people.
I'm just looking at all these. I'm just going through these images on Facebook, not Facebook, but Google Images. I'm going through all these Antarctic images and just imagining humans being there, walking all over the place. I'm like, this is gonna be gone in like 100 years, 200 years.
You think so?
Yes. I think humans will branch out. It'll become a tourist spot. It'll become the last glacier, and like it'll become the last glacier tourist location, and people will come here to see the last glacier, and it'll be like, and then it'll just disappear slowly. Yeah, I would put money on that. That's a long-term bet.
So let's see if I can get one of the images.
You guys are insane.
So if I look at, I'll put a link in the description of my I haven't put up the latest expedition, but you're talking about the current one or the previous one here. Go to stream.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, do you have what do you have on that?
There was that slideshow. So that's pictures I took of the 2013 expedition.
Hey, Landon, I'm glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Again, I really encourage you to go and take opportunity. This is not a place you can just decide to go there for your summer vacation. You got a great opportunity with this eclipse. And solar eclipses are just amazing. So.
Oh yeah. I went to the one in the I went to St. Louis, and then I realized it was gonna be cloudy, so I had to drive like southeast all the way down to Kentucky just to make sure that I had clear visibility.
Good.
Yeah, it was great, man. Like seeing the shadow just fall over me, like it was a great experience.
It was really something.
Seeing this in Antarctica, where we're place where I did the checkout, and again that URL I put up on the Earth, you could see that like the panorama of that. You have like 18 kilometers. You can look up the valley of 18 kilometers. That's where the shadow is going to. So you'll have somewhere on the order of around 14 seconds to see the shadow come racing across the ground towards you. You know, which is
speed of a fucking bullet, or like 1,000 miles per hour, actually, because of the Earth's rotation.
Yeah, it'll be around Mach 1.4. But
yeah,
you'll be looking at under the purest air and on the planet.
You know what's sad? Like, if you had a hangout with Jaren, and the whole thing would just him calling you a liar.
I would. That's his problem, right? Yeah. If he's so bound to stick his head in the mud, well, that's.
Yeah, like I fucking caught that right at the end. He's like, people can believe whatever they want, but people are taught that the flat Earth is stupid, and if you believe the round Earth, you're stupid. You fucking dumbass.
But
time.
Yeah, go down there and I remember when I was going to go out, to talk to Steve, and I mentioned, I'm going to go out there for this radio show. There's some flat earthers that don't think this place exists. And people like, you're going to talk to what? Yeah, well, but that's because they want to know, because I was having to hyperventilate into a bag because I wanted to be sure I was well oxygenated.
Yeah, that you wouldn't fucking pass out.
Well, I wanted to also sound reasonably coherent too.
Yeah, I only caught the end of Steve's hangout, but I gotta say, it ruined my whole bath.
It was kind of tough. The wind chill was really hard. I ended up basically turning my back to the wind. It was easier to talk to him.
Yeah. I mean, that must have been hard.
I must, however, say I did my best to see if I can fall off the bottom of the earth.
Yeah. I don't know if Steve told you, but he told me he would tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I don't think you should have risked your life by jumping. You should have just thrown something.
Well, but it's a personal thing. I put my body on the line for. And you never know. I mean, because every time I must say, every time I've tried it, I've come back to Earth. You never know.
It's weird. Okay, so I just gotta announce to the whole room before anything else that I have mods. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, anyway, so take a look at that slideshow thing if you want to see pictures of what it's like.
Yeah, I'm watching right now.
Yeah,
he posted it in the last comment.
I see it. Oh, damn, that's an hour and 47 minutes.
Go to that the expedition thing and register for interest. You always say no or too expensive and buy out, but you need to be in line. Because we've just opened this up. I haven't sent out eclipse chasers this. It's gonna fill up soon.
Wait a minute. I
I
figured
don't.
out why it's so expensive to go to the South Pole. Because when you go there, the NASA you have to pay them a bunch of money so they can pay CGI artists to render the South Pole right in front of you.
Yeah, in fact, I found that some of
I think it's to pay off the pilots so they circle around and they end up landing somewhere on an icy island, and no one really goes too far because they're all kind of like scared. Kind of make them scared, like, "Oh, don't go too far. We won't. No one's gonna go with you."
yeah, I found that flat earthers have taken like that picture was one that they used, and so but probably the one that they use most often.
You're breaking up a little bit. What are you saying?
I'm saying the flat earthers take some of my pictures and use it as proof that there's an ice.
Oh, like this is an ice wall? Is that what you're saying?
Isn't that fucking ironic?
I mean, can't you go up there? Is that impossible?
Like this.
You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to find the picture. Yeah, this is one of the ones. This is probably the most common of that they use as proof of the ice wall.
Which one?
I'm going to paste it here in the stream chat. That link.
Okay. Oh, that one. Yeah, that's.
That's
look
cool
at that.
looking. That was really nice. It clearly curves around, but that looks awesome. Man, that'd be cool to see in person. But yeah, obviously I could decide to walk up that pathway.
That's in Glacier. You can go out there and see that thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how I could be stopped. If I'm there and I want to walk over there, who's stopping me?
Where did you post that?
In the
Stream chat.
Let's see. Here's another. This is actually probably the most formidable ice wall. This. If you go to the Mount Vincent, that's the highest peak in Antarctica. Base camp. This. Another ice wall.
I don't know where that stream chat is then.
Above the stream live in the Great Debate Community Discord.
Yeah, so you scroll all the way to the top. You'll see like the very first channel. Like in the server itself, the very first channel has stream-chat. Just above stream space parentheses lives parentheses.
Yeah, it's the first thing. Like you scroll all the way up, and it's the top thing.
You just click on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're looking at here with
I guess
the.
I don't have it.
Try refreshing or leaving the server coming back maybe. So we're looking at here. What is this? 2013 Antarctic South Pole. What is this?
I'm showing you some of the pictures.
Yeah, I can't quite decipher what I'm looking at.
The latest thing.
Yeah, is it like? Am I looking down a hillside?
You're looking from the base camp on Mount Vincent towards the ice wall that is sheer face of Mount Vincent. So let me show you the mountain. Look, you know, idea. Hey.
by the way, your microphone is activating like in weird patterns. Like it might be touching your shirt or something.
That's because I'm having to touch the screen to do the copy and paste. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. I was making sure you knew.
That peak highest in Antarctica.
Oh man, that's awesome.
That sheer wall that's there is what that ice wall. Let's see.
Why is my cat bothering me? She has plenty of food.
Oh, she's bored.
Here's probably a better picture.
You have such cute whiskers. Landon, you keep cutting out.
Because I'm having to touch the screen and posting.
Oh, that's a sexy looking picture.
So
These are great pictures.
Your ice wall, that rock wall, is what makes climbing Mount Vinson just insanely insane.
My cat's such a fucking asshole. I'm trying to use the computer, and she's sitting right in front of it.
I would how often do people actually climb this mountain range?
There's usually once or twice once a year or every other year.
Like how many people though?
I suspect there certainly is a lot less than Everest. It's a much more difficult climb than Mount Everest.
Sure, yeah, I would imagine.
Because
I would imagine this is the hardest.
Yes, this is the hardest of the high peaks. It's lower altitude. The temperature and wind exposure is just insane. But if you go to the baseline, Marvin says they're muted. They're muted, by the way.
Oh, Matt, we can hear you typing on your mechanical keyboard.
Yeah, well, it just happened. Well, I'm gonna have to unfriend somebody.
I have a friend who has a mechanical keyboard. I'm like, stop typing.
I guess I don't get to see these pictures. I don't care to have
You
that.
can't see it?
Yeah, I've been out of Discord, back in.
Oh man.
Do you see where it says stream live?
Yeah.
Right above that, it should say stream chat.
I don't have that.
Maybe it's a permission issue. Maybe you came late to the stream.
I did come late.
Maybe we weren't given permission to see the chat.
I'm in the chat that I see is the GDC voice text.
Yeah, because that's one that's selected down on the left side of the screen. Can you click on? I guess you say you can't click on.
So as I mentioned, these pictures you've been seeing of this Mount Vinson area is one of the side things you can do. You don't have to climb the peak. One of the things is to basically just go to the base camp. So they fly you into the base of this mountain.
Like, how can you get people that I don't know, do something other than just climb the mountain? Like, how often do you get people that want to build a house there or do something weird?
Oh, we have people that just want to go there, sit down on a chair and just chill out, right? There's a lot of people that just go there just to hang out and do nothing, right?
Sure.
It's only these insane super athletes that go and climb something like this. I just like to go down there and sit down and enjoy and unwind and not have to worry about.
I think someone's probably missing a business opportunity to advertise a bar being there. Like, Extreme, this is the Antarctic bar. You can't come here. Oh, wait, yeah, you can. I'm sorry. Pull up a chair. And
Well,
then
there certainly are and you definitely can bring your own. You can bring your own liquor down there, but
sure, but I mean, like that's a clear business opportunity. Like no one has a business down there that I know of. If I knew a bar existed down there, then I would know that. And I would find that very interesting. But as far as I know, there's only like scientific communities there and research stations.
and explorers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I find the explorer aspect to be more haphazard and per person. For me, it's like we have researchers there, and we also have the occasional human that wants to go and like affect the area with their presence and then leave.
Yeah, but there's a lot, a lot of astronomy, geology, climate research, atmospheric research.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of geology and yeah, all those sciences. That's like prime real estate. Like you can get no better like measurement of atmospheric gases and well, at least for those regions, like you can kind of get an understanding of like the kind of atmosphere that existed around this region in those times, and it's like pristine data. Like it's all captured.
Yeah.
Man, that's what's great about it. I wish we had the same kind of measurements like that we can get there everywhere, but I don't think we ever will.
Did Jared ever come in this room?
No, sadly.
Of course not.
Yeah.
So for people that go to the pole, I mean, the ceremonial pole is actually pretty picturesque. It looks sort of like that.
Yeah, I want to see the one that they always have ceremonially at this one science station. Like, is it further? Is that what's further down in the picture in the foreground? And I'm sorry, the background.
What you'll see is this. Here's the science station.
There's a background circle over there, and then there's another one for a little bit to the right, and then more to the right. They keep going further. Where does it end? And that's the one that I want to see.
It's like this is it. So there's the station, and that's the station. Actually, the view from the geographic pole, the polar rotation. That's what you're looking from the polar rotation back to the station. This last one.
Oh wow! Is that really like the center?
Yep. Well, that's what you're standing on the center. I'll show you. Here is the marker from 2013. So that's the rotational mark was,
wow,
and you
that's
see
cool.
outside the previous year's marker.
That's awesome.
And then for the actual pole itself, so here's where I'm standing on the pole. A little bit of select all.
Oh, this is getting annoying now.
Oh, what's that?
Not being able to see what y'all are posting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I'm just describing it.
So this spot
is picture saved on my phone.
So right between my feet is where the pole was at the time I took this picture.
Oh man,
is the prime meridian, and going down is the international date line.
Ah, man.
And you can see from the pole that's there, that pipe thing is the pole that was there when it was at on New Year's.
Yeah.
So it's moved, and you can tell from the shadow the direction where the sun is. So the shadow shows you the direction from which noon is going and where midnight is.
Yeah. Man. Envy. I mean, that's great, man.
So when I was talking to Steve and doing the jumping thing, I was.
That's pretty cool.
And people actually, there was actually somebody who had the camera in their face, they recorded me jumping, with multiple frames to prove I actually got off the ground, but fell back.
For me, this picture is enough. Like I look at this and I go, yeah, of course. Like for me to make this, God, there's so much you have to do to make this picture a fake.
It really is quite. So here is a picture showing me, and so I'm here. My finger, I've taken my gloves off down to just the skin layer. That's the closest I will come to risking my finger.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But so my finger is touching the spot where the pole is right now. That's so at the time that picture was taken.
Man. It like just to see out into the barren. It's just.
And so what you're seeing off in the distance, things on the horizon, that's our camp.
Yeah. And I imagine there's nothing but emptiness, but gray, white, and blue all the way around. Is there anything like when you look around? Do you see any like weird mountain ranges?
Well, the pole is pretty flat.
But do you see any mountain ranges? Like, are there any points where you look around and you see, as you panorama around, like, is there any point where you go, oh, there's that landmark?
At the pole, you're in a. So at the pole, what you see is things like the station or the telescopes or something like that. Or
No, wait. I know you see New York City. You have to. It's flat. So. It's flat, right? So you have to see it. I mean, given permutations of the ground, you might see it, right?
If it was clear day and you could see the corner, I'm there. Of course, one of the things that's very important when you're traveling down there is you must know where your towel is.
Oh, 'cause you'll freeze because, like, yeah, like you'll get like sweat and you'll freeze.
There is no liquid water down there. Lol.
I was thinking like you need like to wipe the sweat away.
Yeah, I was saying like if your sweat comes out, it may be salty, but I'm pretty sure it would freeze. Right? Is that correct? Nathan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you don't even need a towel. Like you don't. I guess there's no sweat.
Yeah.
Like, you have to sweat. Don't you get sweat like hot underneath, or does that not matter? Like the heat, like your own body heat. How's that work with like your suit, like the suit, the clothes you're wearing and body heat? Can you last all day?
You regulate your temperature. You opening up and closing the stuff down to make sure you're not sweating.
Oh, okay. So you maintain your okay. That makes sense.
So when you arrive at the pole, you go to this camping area that got set up, and they actually have pretty nice tents down there. This is what the tents look like.
I don't know. I'm beginning to think that you don't need that towel. But I only have anecdotal evidence from that one guy that talked before. I don't know.
There's your tents.
I'm looking for the swimming pool. I don't see that there isn't a swimming pool. I don't know that there's not. I'm beginning to think you need that towel.
So here I am. If you want reference, you were talking about the ceremonial pole versus the pole station.
Yeah.
One thing I did last time was I brought down this book.
Man, this is so cool, man. I
brought this book down to read by Jules Verne.
man.
And
This
it's a small enough book you can read it, and basically I made sure as I was reading it, basically I went around the pole. So I read it in about 80 minutes, and
man.
so that's the ceremony pole. The flags are behind the photographer, looking towards the pole station.
Yeah. Yeah. Man.
Well, you can, that thing because you look in the ball, you can see the reflection of the photographer and the flags back there, and then of course the camp that we are is back, back farther, and the geographic South Pole is to your left, about
Why
500.
do people feel like I feel bad for people who cannot understand the reality.
One of the things I found that was and it's been that way every time I've been there. It's incredibly emotional to arrive there at the South Pole. It is a profound emotional experience.
Like I've not been here. I've not actually stepped foot at these locations, and everything I've experienced up till now makes like you say, or I've heard earlier. Though, well, that predicts that. This predicts that. Like my experience predicts that this is possible, and like of course, like this is not outside the bounds of possibility. Like everything that I've known and understood predicts that this would be the case, that there would be such a place, and that a person could go here, and that there are these things at these locations. Like, yeah, I don't understand why. I would be surprised and shocked if I found out that you were lying, that the person who gave me information related to this was lying, that the person who hinted that somehow was possible that this was possible was lying. Like, I would be very bizarrely shocked. Like
So
an airplane landing there. Yeah.
We fly in DC-3s, so that's a picture of the DC-3 plane that we fly down there.
Shocked. I would be shocked. Bizarrely, like, dumbfounded. I wouldn't be angry. I would just be dumbfounded at how fooled I was. I'd be like Truman in Truman Show, just like, oh, what? I just totally dumbfounded. Yeah. Of course there'd be a plane. Of course you would need to fly in and out. Of course, I'm sure there's fuel there.
Because I want to walk or ski. There's the front door to the South Pole Station.
Yeah. Is the glass there just so they can see to make sure who's out there banging on our door?
Not me.
I assume that's like not only bulletproof, but like just profoundly the strongest material on the wall.
But it is amazing when you step inside that place, because you've been out there in the wilderness, right? And you come up to this building, and this building, they tell me that it's more expensive per square meter of than the space station in terms of that's what it looks like near the building. It really is sort of out of this world. You find this thing, and when you actually finally go inside, you experience this sort of this alien world.
I assume those are earthquake structures, more like for movement factors.
Well, the thing that you're seeing
or
there,
heat resistance, like heat leakage.
Heat resistance is one thing. The other bit that you're seeing is that the poles have pistons in them, so that as the poles sink into the ice, they jack them up and keep the thing above the ice.
Oh, okay.
The previous two pole stations basically on the ice and sunk in. The other thing is that those rails that they're on allow them to move the pole station.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. The pulsation. They look like. It's very interesting. Of course you would do that, man. This is. I'm very curious what the inside of that station looks like.
So there's stuff like, for example, there's lots of cool equipment. Let me take example. This is like a. They have little office spots here.
Oh man.
This is the comms room.
Oh, it's amazing. Man.
They have a.
Yeah.
They have
Exactly what I respect.
a rec room here. They actually have a. There's a room. Music is a big important thing down there.
I believe it.
And so they have a room that's dedicated to classical music, a room dedicated to jazz.
Yep. I believe it.
Room dedicated to rock music.
Man, and this is great.
The amazing instruments down there. So that's like the rock room. People that stay down there, they want being able to play an instrument is an important thing in getting on.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no drama at all.
Yes, I could tell you stories.
Yep, I'm sure there's no drama at all.
They have this amazing library, right? So there I am sitting in the library. And
That's great, man.
And this library contains lots of amazing books where the authors have put annotations of stuff in the books. So and I'm not just talking about autographed copies. I'm talking about detailed notes. A lot of stuff by Ray Bradbury, a lot of stuff by Asimov, a lot of stuff by Arthur C. Clarke. Douglas Adams has some hilarious stuff in books there. J.K. Rowling has stuff there. In this particular book, if you look at the last one, if you look at the bottom right, you see
bottom middle right.
The bottom right section. That those bound books are Shackleton's actual diaries. That's his.
Wow.
Right, but Thomas Huxley. You've got Roots of the Word. Really amazing books in that section. Again, a lot of stuff is like of authors that have.
What's some garbage?
Because Douglas Adams had just lots of sarcastic.
What's something you would never read though? What's in here? Like, oh, I'll never even touch those ones.
Like I remember one of the things he said was. He said something like, "What the F are you doing reading what I'm writing rather than reading what I've written?"
Oh, man.
In the middle of this page, right? I was like, okay. But anyway, lots of great, great books down there. So,
yeah. Well, like, what other books do you like? What other interactions have you had down there where it seems like it shouldn't be a thing that could happen? I don't know. Like, do you ever think about the future of humanity in a way where the interactions that happen down there may have ramifications that kind of perpetuate in the future, and how it may be the case that our Antarctic research facilities are the last remnants of humanity? Do you see that maybe these interactions down here could perpetuate a weird future human state?
I mean, I think there certainly are. One of the things I find that's really fascinating is that there's no rules and no regulations. No one's enforcing behavior because some religion tells them to do or some police person tells you to do. You are nice because it's nice, and you have to cooperate with people to survive. And they're just nice people down there that figure out how to get along. They don't need a government to tell them what to do. They don't need a religion to tell them what to do. They just do the right thing.
I don't know, man. It sounds like you just hate God.
Or
I couldn't
people
give
that
us.
claim to be have a beeline for that. But yeah, that's really is kind of the that. But the other business is that, for example, this time when we were traveling, we learned there was somebody about 100 kilometers away. Actually, they were about 95 kilometers away. And so it's like, okay, we should go over there and check them out and just say hi. Why? Because they were the only person within several hundred kilometers. And it's part of the thing that they were saying. I was explaining, if you were those people and you were in trouble, you'd be grateful that someone would go out of the way just to say, "Are you things okay?"
Yeah.
Now we ended up showing up there, and we had some great Belgian beer, and they had some great things that people could ingest, and we had a nice party. Right? It was like, "Thank you for stopping by, and we're okay, and yeah, we're okay, and here's some beer, and here's some stuff you can smoke," and just had a good time.
Yeah. All good. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't smoke, but other people did. They said it was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, human cooperation is just that way. Like, I feel like people are more likely to be kind to each other than to be evil to one another.
Absolutely. There's down there's a really great there's a kind of a great museum with all kinds of artifacts, and what I'm showing you, you can see those pictures now.
Yeah, I see it.
This
Oh, nice.
letter, the first letter that was posted to the South Pole.
Oh man.
In fact, if you're talking about the deep freeze, that was probably your.
61.
Dad probably carried that letter.
58. God. 56.
Went up to the pole station, and actually this actually went back up to. They brought it up to the north, back down to the South Pole.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Where's the north? Where's the north stamp?
It is. If you look at that. So anyway, I don't know if Mark, if you can hear that or see that, but that letter, I bet your father saw that letter or carried that letter.
Which one? Where are we looking?
It's
he was a photographer on Operation Deep Freeze.
Because this letter was stamped when they established that base, and so the North Pole one is if you see the thing that says South Pole, the penguin and the Meteorite pole,
Yeah.
it's the stamp that's just on the top to the left, above the US 7. That's the North Pole stamp.
Antarctic. I see Navy. I see TONEZE. I can't interpret. Is that? Looks like it's part of Operation. I guess like a misstamp. U.S. Navy operation reference.
Yeah.
And I wish I hadn't lost all of his original photos and negatives in a fire. But you're right. It's entirely possible. I could have had a picture of this at one point in his records of stuff.
Let me. Whoops, I didn't. Maybe fix that one. That's bad image. I'll put a better image of that. So this has a lot of also artifacts. In fact, your dad had maybe a hand in. It's this one. Give the larger.
Oh man, this glass case.
And there's some things like, for example, you sit there and say, well, what's that?
Oh man, some of this must be history.
Yeah, what's that thing on the top, in the top far left? That actually.
Oh, what is that? Hey, I don't know.
That actually held the first condoms that were brought down to the South.
Seriously?
That were used.
Really?
Let's just say that.
Okay, that's kind of gross.
That's hilarious.
But the first human,
I mean, it is what it is, man. I don't think it was the first, but at least like it's clear that that's a container. I guess that's looks like a like liquid container. Looks like there's a spout coming from the front. It doesn't look like a condom container to me.
Is this still live?
Oh, they were put in there.
Yeah, I think so.
They were smuggled down in that container.
Smuggled down?
They were smuggled down and used down there, and that was.
Oh, okay. Why was it shaped that way then?
I think that thing has it's an electrical container, and basically because weight was a big thing, so they stuffed condoms into the insulator inside. That's an electrical insulator that was part of one of the early electrical system.
Oh, so that's actually an electrical component that was seconding as something else.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Why would they say that? Just because it was holding condoms? Seems like a weird reason to say it.
It held the first condoms that were used, and apparently the used condoms are still inside there. So I'm just.
I don't. Yeah, maybe.
What is this chat about?
We're looking at these Discord images from the Antarctic. These are pictures from an Antarctic expedition, at least a visitation to the facility, where there are certain historical landmarks, things that had made their way to Antarctica. There's a library. There's also a facility where people actually live and interact and perform arts, pool, darts, read books, music.
No. So if you look at this last one, this case shows the markers that had been, when every New Year's where they stick the marker at where the actual pole is.
Yes. Yeah, put it back in the Oh man. Which one? All right. Oh yeah. So I gotta tell you, my favorite is where is it? Where the fuck is it? It's it can't be that one. There's one. I think there's one missing from here. Is there one missing?
Well, this is a 2013.
All right. Which one was 14?
That would be an out if for 2013, 2014 would be out there.
Yeah. Ah man, like there's one. There's one. I think it was 14. That looked really, really good. It looked pretty much like kind of like Jupiter, but also had a ring-like structure. That was really awesome. Like that one looked really good. Oh man, where's that one at? That one looked awesome.
No, that was in 2014. Be out.
14? You're breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry.
I think that's 2014.
Okay.
I don't have I haven't yet uploaded my geological. So these are the various scientific instruments like Ice Cube, Bicep 2. Ice Cube is actually bolts, flags, showing where the ice bolt, and then these are the telescope, Bicep 2, infrared imager, and the scientific instrument.
I have a question about that. Isn't it the case that a lot of the electromagnetic current also flows back towards the South Pole? Or is it purely clear skies magnetically from the South Pole?
It's clear skies and it's dry. There's less than
Oh
5
man.
there.
So
and much.
So then don't we? Wait, is it possible to have satellites like geosynchronous at that same location?
Geosynchronous satellites have to.
You're breaking up.
Geosynchronous satellites have to be at the equator.
Damn, I thought so too. I was hoping it was you're going to tell me, well, we can do just this little thing here.
So what they do so if you were off the equator, for example, if you were high up, then the satellite would bob up and down.
Yeah.
Right? Think about the ring that's on the side, right? That's slightly tilted like the ecliptic. What you would see is a satellite moving up and down.
Yeah.
And of course, the most extreme is if you're going over the pole, then you'd see it, cross the meridian on each orbit. And that's the problem. When you're at the South, all of the satellites that they are geosynchronous are too low in horizon. They're too difficult to image and see. So
this just proves that the Earth is flat.
The only communication you really have is that is the polar orbiting satellites.
It is as proof. You can't put a satellite over the edge of the Earth at all points on the edge. That's what it is. I mean, that's proof.
Yeah,
you
but
can't do it.
scientifically, that image you're seeing there, and that's actually taken on my tent window. With these amazing instruments you read about when you go and see them are.
Yeah, I've seen models in my day. I've seen Lord of the Rings. I've seen models. I know what they look like. And you're not fooling me. It's clearly a green screen. Like just a you can see the white line that kind of looks like a road, left side to the right. That's the edge of the green screen, and this is just all a model in front of it. So yeah, you laugh. All right. I mean, you believe what you want to believe. This is cool, man. I would love to be there. The kind of person that could, like, just breathe the air and see, like, just be the person who's perceiving these images, this light. God, like that's the privilege a person has. The privilege to experience the light from these objects.
Yeah, and the light down there is, I'll just say, is pretty extraordinary because there's actually quite a bit of light that you.
Is it very polarized? Isn't it like a polarization effect based on where you are?
Yeah, so I'm going to show you, for example, what midnight land of the midnight sun. Right. This is. We'll flick back to the Union Glacier because it's actually much more picturesque. So here's an example of.
Oh man, that is so weird. That is so weird. Is that underexposed? Like what? I'm trying to make sure that I'm not seeing the light brighter than it should be.
Yeah, it's actually 2,000 a second at f/71. Photography at ASA 100, ISO 100.
No, I'm terrible. I don't have any knowledge of the photographic nomenclature, so I'm not sure what that means.
So it is a, because there's so much light, it's extremely short exposure where the lens is stopped down to almost a pinhole because there's just so much light down there.
Oh, really? That's a very interesting question. So then why isn't it hotter?
Well, a couple of things. One is that the sun's low in the horizon, so the sun's rays are coming in an oblique angle. And second thing, the ice and snow is at high, so the stuff gets reflected off into space. It's very difficult to solar heat a mirror, and
Especially
that's
on an angle.
yeah, that's what the ice looks like. So
Yeah.
here, here is the same place, but 12 hours later, so this is noon. It's like,
Oh man, noon. Oh, right overhead. Clearly nowhere near. Oh man.
Turned.
Oh man, how weird it would be to live anywhere near this location. And to go, yep, that's how it goes. Alright, time to go to sleep. Oh man, the life like this. Man, I'm just wondering about like any kind of vegetative life. Like if it were possible for life to live out here, if there were green grass, what kind of life would live out here?
pretty tenacious life, I would.
I would think they would be pretty nocturnal. Like sunlight would be their nighttime. Of course, it's really cold, so I'm assuming it's going to be normal temperature. I don't know. I'm just very curious about the different possibilities given different temperature ranges.
One of the things I really like is to look at ice. So, for example, this picture, looking towards Mount Rossman, you're not looking at a frozen lake. You're looking at the top of the ice sheet. The ice that's there is several kilometers thick.
Yeah, this is just like a little, like a beach inland.
Because this is where the wind has scraped the dust off down to the bare ice.
And the water is just able to, like, peel away slowly over the ages into inland, basically.
So
and narrow out.
That blue thing is solid ice. There's no liquid there.
Oh, there's no liquid.
There's no liquid. That's not.
It has to move.
It's moving. I mean, the glacier is moving.
But that has to move that has to have some movement to it.
The wind actually blows the ice.
I feel like it's like slowly breaking and moving. Like this is like the residue of the ice as it's been melted, and it's kind of freezing, like in against another crystalline shape. So like this crystalline structure is kind of like collecting the water that breaks off from the glaciers.
I mean, I understand this. There's no liquid there. This is frozen.
Yeah, this is crystalline. Yeah, I feel like this crystalline structure is gathering the ice.
Down there, you're looking down into a couple kilometers thick of ice. I mean, the ice is at this stage is actually quite thick.
That's what I'm saying. It's been collecting. It's like this is like a collector of the glacier.
Yeah. So here, a little bit farther back, this is like our tent city. This will be where, camp will be set up.
How long of a walk is it? Is it from here to there?
From
mountain ranges. Like I guess in which direction is it where we like the previous picture is? Like where from the previous picture to here? How far a walk is it? In which direction?
Okay. Looking at this spot here, you're down. So this camp, on the bottom picture, the tip of the mountains is the that you see on the right hand is on the left hand side of the picture above it.
Okay. Oh, so is it just across the way? Like, it across those mountains in front?
And down a little bit.
Oh, so they're more to the left in the top pictures.
Yeah.
And they cover around a little bit?
Yes. So ice itself has really amazing properties in terms of when you look down on the ice itself, or the snow, ice does really amazing things. And so this is what it, oh, look at that. It's a picture of deep freeze. Yep. So you see that, what he posted, that candy stripe pole? The barber.
South Pole Station under construction.
Yes, you see the barber pole? That's the barber pole that you saw up higher.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have the Jules Verne picture of.
Yeah.
But it's actually been married a bit because ice accumulates over the years.
Ah, that's amazing. Are they gonna raise it eventually?
I think they keep talking about it, but as you saw, the original one was actually quite high on the we built up for years.
Yeah, it's kind of funny in that picture you posted. It's barely up to that person's chin.
That's me, by the way. That I'm the. So
Yeah.
just give you context.
It was quite a bit taller before.
Yeah, right. That's amazing.
Yeah. That picture, by the way.
This picture is like 1958.
Yeah.
I think.
That's really great. I like that picture.
Yeah, it puts your picture in great perspective.
And for example, the flag. There's a flag there.
The funny thing, all those vehicles, my father drove those vehicles there.
That's crazy.
Oh.
Your father?
Yeah, he was a photographer in Operation Deep Freeze 1 and 2. Went it over 2 years.
And what year was that?
Like 56 through 58.
Man.
Yeah, so there have been those couple of those years you saw on the. That's the. So the flag that's out in front of the. That.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And notice the compass rose on top of the pole.
That's great. That's perfect. That's like the ideal. Yeah. It's a shame. Like, I guess the only thing I would wish was that it was 3-dimensional and that there was another dimension coming out from both sides.
Yeah. If you want to look at, see, like some of our some of the meteorites that we found.
Oh yeah.
Rocks.
Is it just because they're not just like interfered with enough that it's more obvious to find them? It's easier to see them. Or is is it that they're not easily disturbed by other materials? You can find them easier.
I mean, certainly, if you're sitting there and scanning through pure water ice, when you find a nodule like that, oh wow, look at that one. Yes,
that's awesome.
So this is the first base that they had. The second one was the dome, and the third one was it's a structure that you see in my pictures.
Like, do you find any, like, what's the smallest size you can find? Seems like that's like a half an inch.
I mean, we found some that are a bit smaller than that. Like here's is one of the ones that the smaller ones we found.
What is a VD unit? Oh, those are yards. I'm sorry. Those covered by ice. Yards.
That last picture was actually, I don't know who took it. It was taken in 1969.
Yeah, so that would have been the second base was under construction, I think. No, I'm sorry. It wouldn't. I don't. Would the dome would have been there? Actually, I'm not sure. Certainly, that's sort of cave of the dome of the first base. It ended up, sinking down into the ice, and didn't last. They had to abandon it.
Yeah, what are these pieces? Like, what? How they can? What was their composite? I'm sure they've been studied. Like, what are they made of?
Are you referring to the meteorites?
Yeah, both. What? Like, I assume that each one has their own specific amount of their own composite. Like, what are they made of?
Well, the ones that I've shown so far are nickel and iron mostly.
How are they made? Like, what was the likely cause that has been determined so far?
Right, well, again, the meteorites, they're a probably there was a fender bender of an asteroid out there where two things bumped each other and shards flew off, and one of them traveled around until it ran into Earth.
How much nickel? How much nickel and iron exists right now in like the asteroid belt? I
Quite a
don't know
bit.
that answer.
It's one of the major. I mean, we find meteorites are typically about 20% of them are of that type. So we assume about 1/5 of somewhere around 1/5 of the asteroids are probably heavy iron. Now this one I'm going to post here next is called carbonaceous chondrite. So it's silicons and carbons. We call that one's called the pecan.
Is it possible they came from different events, like the
Oh yeah,
the nickel iron?
oh yeah, and presumably formed it. They created it at different locations. Presumably, when you look at the
Is it likely then that they came from specific events that occurred, like maybe worldwide, and like there was an asteroid impact that contribute to these, or are these purely asteroid events that at this point in time we just happen to get a lot of asteroids of this composition?
some of these we actually can identify where they came from by composition.
Okay.
And some of them are, they're more of a family of asteroids. So we can tell by composition of the piece as to that they came from this family of asteroids. This is me. This last picture is a picture of me using my scanner, scanning around for meteorites. That's how we go and scan them. So if you join us to scanning and you want to participate, that's what it looks like.
How much do you get to keep? Like of what you find, like does anyone get to keep anything, or do they get to basically?
We leave them there.
You find the item and you just say, "I found it here. I'm leaving it."
And we do the analytics.
But wouldn't that be useful for scientific research?
Like, I'm trying to show you this one is actually at the Smithsonian. This is one of the ones that probably one of the more famous find there. We called this one the the Apollo command module, um, and what was unusual about this thing that we saw when we dug down. So these weren't on the surface, right? These are underneath the ice. So we dug down to find them exposed.
Yeah, because they land hard. Yeah.
Well, also they're riding underneath the ice surface. So the previous picture shows me sitting over. We found a spot basically, and underneath it we had to dig down to find on the object. So this object is. So one of the things that we saw was that on its surface had this iridescence to it. Basically, that weird sort of colors. If you magnify it and look at the spot, it had this really interesting sort of color patterns that was unusual.
I feel like that's like a light refraction pattern more than anything.
And but it indicative of the surface that was, not like you saw the carbureted chondrite or metal.
It has a weird red color though. Like the red coloring is like, I don't know what that's about. But the greens and yellows are clear refraction patterns.
And one of the things also you see from the, in this particular case, when the thing came down in the atmosphere, what you're seeing is the front side that was sort of the bow shock was coming in, face first.
Yeah.
Protect really behind it.
Yeah, that's clear, and like you can see like basically
The
the
height.
wear waves, like the wear that's been taken. Yeah.
So the nice, interesting about this one. So this was unusual. That said, okay, the group. There was another group that came down and actually retrieved this tour.
Is there anything inside of it?
This was quite unusual. And discovered was that it had a high amount of two rare elements, iridium and platinum.
At what density? Like in what aspect ratio from the surface level to the middle? I want to know. Like I feel like this is the kind of structure that would protect the inside.
They're on the other. They were on the order of about 70%.
Of what, from surface to middle? Like
70% of the composition of this thing was iridium. And the interesting thing is that the element, they were used lasers to zap holes into the thing to look at it to verify that it was really consistent throughout. It was fairly dense.
Yeah, I believe it.
We thought it was actually and it had this unusual surface feature. They brought it in, in a refrigerated box with argon atmosphere to make sure that it wasn't contaminated. To then do the analysis, and the isotopes of iridium and platinum match strictly the isotopes of iridium and platinum you find what's called one of the things that the presumption is that the explanation for why the KT boundary layer has this rich sediment of iridium and platinum is that an asteroid hit at the Yucatan Peninsula area, and that asteroid was part of a family of asteroids that were very high in iridium and platinum. So this piece is assumed to be
Just part of that family.
off of that asteroid or off of that family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's possible that asteroid was deflected by a collision into colliding with the Earth, and the pieces that came about from that collision, had kept their general momentum, and it wasn't, it took another 65 million years before this chunk to finally hit the Earth.
So, like, you're defining this to be at what time frame for this one?
So this one, that given the oxidation rate, they estimated it landed somewhere in the last 40,000 years.
But that doesn't even get close to the hypothesis that it's part of the 25 million year.
The assumption, but that's when it landed on Earth, that it was actually traveling in space, because it has also a lot of the nodule had a lot of space radiation damage on it.
You could say that about any impact then, like any impact that occurs, any subsequent impact of any substrate like this is part of that one. Like, how do you determine? Ideally, I assume this is the case where you find that you get a initial impact and a lot of substrate, and then less and less and less, and that this just kind of falls into that percentage possibility where this is part of that lesser percent.
So one thing that when asteroids collide with each other, lots of pieces fly off.
Sure.
So one of the assumptions, either this was one of the fragments of the collision, or it was part of another family. Part of a family of some. It's part of the family of another asteroid that was traveling along in the same path. Obviously,
that for me, that kind of says I don't know where it came from, and it could be another asteroid or it could be another meteor impact, as far as I know.
One of the things that is particularly unusual about this is the matching, the isotope matching between the composition of this object and the KT boundary layer, which came about from the so-called dinosaur killer asteroid, right?
Yeah.
And that both iridium and platinum are fairly rare elements on Earth, but are highly concentrated in that boundary where the dinosaurs, essentially fossils, stop and the mammals.
Are you saying that this composition of matter also exists in that layer?
Yeah. So the isotope mix of this thing matches the layer.
Then why is it 4,000 or 40,000 years old in this ice layer?
Because this is not part of the impactor.
Of course, yeah. It clearly couldn't be if you're saying it's 40,000.
This is part of the family of that impact.
But doesn't that mean that there's a trail that led to the, like, if it's part of the family, then there's still a trail of incoming debris.
Yes.
That we can see today.
Yes, and so this is one of the largest. There have been.
Where is that? Where's that trail?
There have been, for example, people looked for meteors, and they've seen vaporization of iridium platinum flecks that have come into the Earth's atmosphere and burnt up. But this is the first. This is actually the largest chunk of this material that they've ever seen in one piece. Again, presumably because this is something, and given the melting, they presume that about half of this material vaporized, when it was entering the Earth's atmosphere, but enough of it survived, hit Antarctica, plateau, and moved to this spot as the ice was moving towards the ocean. One of the things that there was a question about whether or not the impactor, as you could have, was a comet or an asteroid. And
I more wonder if there are some residual effects of that stream of path.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the most likely source of this thing, is that stream. Particularly if what happened a long time ago was that there was an asteroid collision, and that bump sent the asteroid on its course that eventually collided with the Earth. Then all the shards that came from the bump would continue to travel, and only the one of the big nodules hit 65 million years ago, but many other pieces keep going around in a meteor shower.
Man, this is a crazy idea, but like, isn't it possible that, like, therefore, when we were hit, some of the parts of that asteroid collision kind of followed us, and they were like directed away in our gravitational wake as we went around the sun, and like kind of drifted out.
As well as the solar radiation, nudges them, and other things
Yeah.
that would cause them to eventually, take their time.
Yeah, and move
one of the
away.
things you see from the edge as well is evidence that this thing has had, radiation, from radiation exposure from space for a while.
How do you find such a thing?
So the now that's, although minus a couple of laser holes in it, this is now in a basically a Argon vault in the Smithsonian. And again, it's what's used to make the claim that the impactor was an asteroid rather than a comet. With a comet, you'd see a lot more volatiles. You'd see a lot. It would have had mass, but it would have been a lot of carbon dioxide and water and so forth. This is saying, no, that thing was a dense, heavy chunk of there, which had a large amount of iridium and platinum, two very, very dense materials that smacked the Earth pretty hard.
I mean, it could have been a comet that hit an asteroid that was dense, and then that's why some of the particles are of this proportion versus another.
That's less likely. That's less probable than usually.
Because the comet would break up. Is that why?
I mean, yeah, and usually the materials, yes, and also it would not have delivered as much mass like that. It would have been more volatiles.
Is it possible for a comet to be large?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Are you saying that the proportion of that compound of metal wouldn't exist, though?
But the typical models we have for comets are things that form way out in the Oort cloud, very, very far, and they contain, the light icy volatiles as opposed to dense metals that were closer to the sun. When the cloud, if our model of the solar system is reasonably correct, the model suggests that the dense material sunk towards the gravitational center. That's why you have the metals and the rocky planets down towards the sun, and the lighter volatile gassy things out far from the sun. So,
then what is the Oort cloud made of? If their metals are closer.
The percentage is mostly ice and frozen ice and carbon dioxide.
So then you're proposing that there must be an inner collision that occurred that caused that.
Yeah, and certainly there are metal asteroids in the asteroid belt as an example that could have had an interaction that sent them into the interior. Or the other possibility is that this asteroid came from much farther out. Usually the comets, the percentage of dust grains was actually relatively small compared with the mass of the volatile. Usually, so the model suggests that this thing is the same material as the asteroid impactor,
and it arrived here 65 million years later because it either was part of that debris momentum that all of it hit the Earth, or it's part of another family, part of that same family, and this nodule was a result of some asteroid collision.
I feel it's more likely that it was an inter-asteroid collision.
All the time, having these fender benders and shards fly.
Yeah, I feel like it's just more likely that it's I'm sorry. It's more likely that it's an inter-asteroid collision, simply because we're also closer to them.
Yes, that's a more likely scenario.
Yeah, because like the odds of us hitting a comet are so much more slim than just a random asteroid just tilting.
So if this piece wasn't part of the dinosaur impactor, it certainly was a part of that same family, a cousin.
I wonder how many asteroids have let's say 2 billion years ago. How many asteroids were there in the asteroid quote unquote belt? Assuming that it was belt-like at that time.
I mean, the model suggests that much of the for at least like 2 billion years ago, much of the asteroid belt has been relatively stable. I mean, the very, very early stages of the sun, Jupiter would have been ripping off a lot of material from the asteroid belt, which is one of the reasons why it wasn't able to accrete into a planet. The model suggests the asteroid belt didn't have enough material.
You accept the planet theory?
Yeah, if that's kind of the set. And so things like dwarf planets like Ceres were about the best that the asteroid belt could accrete to form. I mean, because it's in a round sphere, but there wasn't enough, to build a Mars-like object.
What if we pulled a lot of it? What if we kind of pulled a lot of that out and here at the part from an asteroid event, and now all the surrounding planets are kind of accreting matter from that asteroid belt?
I mean, but they're only sort of recreating the deflection collisions. Most of the mass still remains within the asteroid belt that was drawn off from Jupiter.
What if it was an early collision? What if it was early in the lifetime of the planet? I
mean, early on in the solar system, the assumption is that Jupiter ended up with a lot of the planetary mass that could have formed in the asteroid belt. Also, it's an explanation as to why Mars is one so small and so light. And part of it is as you get farther away from the sun's center of mass, you have lighter and lighter material. So Mars has that problem. But Jupiter was the line where when the sun's pressure pushed out hydrogen and helium, he popped a bubble in the gas cloud that was collapsing to form. Popped a bubble, and Jupiter formed at the edge of that bubble. Jupiter is.
Yeah, would you say that Venus is extremely dense, Earth is second place, Mars, then the asteroid belt, and then Jupiter?
And I mean, Mercury would be the densest planet. The only reason why it's not is that Earth is able, because it has so much mass, Earth is able to squeeze its core much harder than, and a little bit higher density. So Earth is only barely more dense than Mercury, and that's only because of the fact we've got this mass squeezed in the core to a very, very high pressure. But if you were to take core material and pull it out and relax it, Mercury would be more dense than Earth.
What would that do to our magnetic pole if we did that? If we started losing matter from our planet? Let's say it starts spilling out at a certain rate.
Assumption. I mean, part of the assumption, and this is not really known for certain, but the hypothesis is that the magnetic field is being generated by currents near the solid core, but not in this, and generating a field that permeates through the solid core. So as I say, this nodule was one, very, very rare find, and two, it was very gratifying to essentially say, here's one of the largest chunks from either the dinosaur killer asteroid or it's one of its cousins.
Yeah, maybe true.
It was not. See, the problem with the KT boundary layer is they don't really see the evidence of both iridium and platinum, but they didn't know what other materials were in that asteroid because they're also, it has carbon and other sorts of things and nickel and iron that are also on Earth. So how do you know which came from the asteroid, which came from Earth?
And will burn off.
This piece here having the same isotope mix as the KT boundary layer's rare elements, then the assumption is it's likely to have a composition that's similar to what that asteroid had, and so they get an idea about now the density of the asteroid, and at that point they can start looking for other asteroids that are of similar nature, because now they know more than just two elements of what's in that asteroid.
How deep was this piece of matter in the ice?
Oh, it's about 5 centimeters below the surface.
5 centimeters? Isn't it like how? At what age is that? Accounting for melt and snowfall.
Well, I think what you're just saying is, doesn't that mean it's relatively recent? And the answer
exactly.
is,
in
model,
fall terms,
the model that we
fall
have
recently.
is that meteorites like this actually float up towards the surface. In deep ice, there is significant pressure. The deeper you go, the more pressure there is. So on an object like this, even if it went deep, the bottom of the object has slightly more pressure than the top, right? Because it's slightly deeper. There's a pressure gradient, and so the tendency for having higher pressure at the bottom of the object than the top of the object is for it to move up towards the surface.
Yeah.
The settling that occurs, but it's similar to like the settling that happens when your rocks float up to the top of the surface of someone's garden. They pick away, right? These things that are rising to the surface. These things, as they get close to the surface, then encounter ice that has air in it, and also they begin to encounter sunlight, and that tends to drive them back down. But they end up. Our model is that a lot of these meteorites are flowing along just beneath the surface of the ice, bobbing along, at glacial speeds. Where when they go down deep, the pressure gradient forces them back up. When they get too high, a combination of air and sunlight penetrating in the ice sends them back down. So they kind of ride, bobbing along. So this thing, even though it landed last 40,000 years, floated up toward the surface and then rode the ice flows until it reached the Union Glacier where we found it.
Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of, just basic physics. The Brazilian nut effect, I think, plays, some kind of role in this.
Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the reasons. That's why there's Viago down there and
don't look, you won't find.
Yeah, you can't find something you don't look for.
But like this last time, I was explaining, saying sometimes it takes a lot of range, like someone's crampon boot or a tent pole or something like that. But this group searched for about 30 minutes. Someone found a ping, turned to be a meteorite, right? So sometimes they come fast and sometimes they come slow, and it's possible we go down the.
Yeah,
But
Found human remains in the ice. I think they would ignore it largely.
or evidence of civilization, right? They would be.
They wouldn't. I don't think they would care. I don't think they would care at all. I think caring would be a thing that, like that kind of, like when you're at a certain advanced stage where you're going from rocky body to rocky body, you're not going to care about a random solid object that doesn't equate to fuel.
But maybe, for example, they're trying to understand the history of the Earth, and they're trying to understand what all this amazing petrochemical mixing and plastic and where that came from, because it's it's a an anomaly, and maybe they say, oh, these clouds did it.
I think you're like what do you call it?
I'm being
Humanizing.
flippant.
You're humanizing them. You're
Anthropomorphizing them.
Anthropomorphizing. That's it. Yeah, you're trying to present them as some kind of thing that's similar in concerns to us. And I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. It's not guaranteed, at least.
Well, my assumption is if they come across the boundary layer with the stuff in it, it's because they're down there looking for it, as opposed to, because if you sit there and, I guess I interpret your question as saying that something was exploring,
Yeah,
and discovered this layer and found this stuff. So
yeah,
they're exploring and discovering. Then it might be trying to puzzle, where did all this, let's say, petrochemical stuff come from?
no.
Right? They would see that as being an unusual compound and would want, because if it's exploring, then if it's exploring and discovering, then this would be something that would puzzle.
I think you're anthropomorphizing the word exploring. I think I mean that they're trying to find things and the things they're trying to find may or may not be the reason why they're trying to find things may or may not be defined by motives that we would find to be abstractly human conscious thought versus mechanical I'm going to do this now thought. So I think I don't see how a person can say it's more likely that when we encounter alien life, it will be the conscious, thoughtful life. Oh, hey, we stumbled upon your planet versus I'm a robot, give me all of your resources, and then they just destroy everything. It's more likely the secondary,
But
the latter.
if the robots found some of these petrochemical resources of value, of importance to be able to go and find and collect them.
Of a conscious thought or mechanical thought?
Mechanically, it found it useful, right?
Then they would destroy it.
Right.
It would take everything it could and rid itself of need to stay there any longer. As like it would try to get everything and leave.
Then one of the things you'd want to do is to try to determine where it is and how to find it, as opposed to just randomly search. So,
you mean them to us or us to them?
Them.
I'm hypothesizing that they're just randomly searching the universe, just haphazardly bumping into us. Because they were sent out from a planet that just sent out random machines into the universe.
There may be things about our planet and emissions from it that would warrant investigation.
That wouldn't even matter. It would just be a matter of the fact that we just happen to be bumped into by a random species that is generating machines constantly and spitting them out across the universe.
I mean, that would be much less probable.
Why would that be less probable?
Across Earth, I think, than saying that missions from Earth are unusual.
Missions don't go that far, though. You can travel farther in a straight direction than you can detect. Especially if you're a machine that's been bred to go to other planets and infest the planet and make new machines and go and infect. This is all clearly hypothetical.
But presumption, if it's a matter of the replicating itself, it's going to need to find planets with resources to replicate with.
Well, sometimes they do, and sometimes they find a great planet, and that planet just spawns massive amounts more, and that planet just spits out thousands and billions of them, and that planet just is the spawn point of another generation of that genus of machine.
But the planets are not going to be one material. They're going to have to be mined to find the subcomponent of that planet that's useful for replication.
Yeah, the machines are evolutionary. They evolve to the
material that the robots will have to collect and form into robots.
Yeah.
So that requires them to be able to search for certain types of planets.
They don't need to search for it. They just have to make sure they at least hit one. If they can hit one and breed faster than they die, then they're going to spread. If they find more planets than they die from, then they're going to spread.
Seems like a very efficient way of given the density of planets, you'd want to be a little bit smarter than just going in random directions in space.
Does it matter if they're going to if as long as they find one and they find a planet that they can spread from? Does it matter?
Energy that would require you to randomly run into a planet as opposed to go to places where there's more likely to be planets. Assuming there's some kind of intelligence as opposed to just.
I think it's effectively random, but I would say that it doesn't. I would say that it doesn't have to be intelligent. It can just be effectively random, so long as the assumption maintains that they bump into planets more likely than they don't bump into planets that can sustain their population density.
Planets, they've got to have some kind of
Sensor, some kind of way of
internal
honing in.
thing to say there's more likely to be planets over there or there, right?
Like gravity. It's got a fault fluid gravity.
But then you'd mostly, if there's gravity, you'd mostly run into stars.
Depends on how many you make. Depends if you can, if one single machine, if that's all it takes to make a whole planet-wide machine, then you just need one. And if you make thousands and billions, then you just need one. The universe will be flooded with them.
Doesn't seem to be a very practical way to go and replicate yourself, but
It doesn't have to be practical. It just has to work, right? Doesn't it just have to work?
I'm not sure that by practical intent, I'm not sure it would work very well.
It wouldn't work very well. A lot of them would die. Even if 80% of them died, that's 20% that are going to spawn another 100% like sperm rate.
The only way you're going to get 20% is if the things have an ability to go towards things that are likely to be planets.
Yeah, gravity. They just have to have mass.
No, that's gravity's it's actually a pretty poor selector because things that have gravitational mass are not planets. Most of the mass of solar systems by orders of magnitude are in the star and not on a planet.
Then they have to be things that can survive inside of a star, maybe the surface level.
Well, I wouldn't understand what kind of physics would allow solar to exist inside of a plasma. That's pretty tall order. There's no.
I agree. I'm not sure. That's another avenue.
I will go back and say I think I'll leave it at this. I think if something is going to be seeking out planets, it's got to have at least a search algorithm and a intelligence to say, I'm going to look for stars of a certain type that are more likely to have planets around them, and then seek out those planets to mine to replicate myself. That would be a far probable way of spreading oneself than just going in random directions.
Maybe they evolve that way. It may be the case that over time, as they move from planet to planet, those that are more able to find planets are also those that happen to find planets, and so then there's this like lesser abstract genome consequence of reproduction and growth that builds in an ability to find planets better than not doing anything about finding planets, you know? And so evolution occurs at a more macro level, where machines are macro evolving to find planets. That's what I'm suggesting. That's just obviously hypothetical. I also happen to think that it's going to be the case, but that's just my personal belief.
So that's why I say those things actually are likely to discover planets have some ability to analyze environment and to seek out resources.
They may get better at that, but they just have to find some planets, and now they're getting better at finding planets. And so then they find that they're better finding planets, but then they can now fine-tune themselves to be even better finding planets that are better for themselves. And so they more fine-tune their own actions to find planets that are perfectly for them. Where like they eventually are able to more likely find planets that are going to have jazz music because they're in the mood for jazz. You know, it's all about that jazz. It's obviously an exaggeration, but you get my understanding. Like, it's all about the more possible combinations of chances there are for an alien species to create a machine that can perform the same evolutionary process that we can perform on a millennial basis, then they're just going to expand further and further out and find more planets and more planets until they just take over everything. Until they're taking over themselves. And they'll come back on themselves, and like they won't be able to leave a certain depth of the universe because it's expanding so fast. And so there'll be certain pockets of certain kinds of organisms separated by space-time travel distance. Yep. Just predictions.
Mm-hmm.
But I am going to sleep. It's been a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Have a good one.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
You too.
I would be closing down the stream anyway. So, good night, Landon. You guys are welcome to stay in here, but
Good night.
I'm closing out the stream tonight.
Yeah.
So,
Have a good night.
shalom.